시드인 줄 몰랐어요. 그래서 원래 저기 앉으려다가 인기가 많을 것 같아요 오늘.
자, 그럼 이어서 C그룹으로 가보겠습니다.
테란을 생각하고 왔는데 1경기 맵이 테란 맵이더라고요. F전을 해버릴까 저그전을 할까 고민 중이긴 해요.
최근에 제가 온라인에서 봤거든요. 진짜 게임에 집중 못하는 모습이 보여요. 저 친구도 요새 정신없고 저도 정신이 없거든요. 저랑 하는 게 맞는 것 같고.
프로토스 쪽에서는 같은 조에 좀 들어갈 생각 있는 분 계세요?
셋 다 아무 말이
셋다 아무
없는데요.
말씀이 좀 없으세요?
저희는 T1 선후배 카르텔 사이입니다.
카르텔이었어요?
풍물에서 만나기로 했습니다.
T1이 아닌 사람이 한 명 있잖아요.
변현재!
예.
준형은 어차피 준비하면 첫판 이길 거라서 유용진을 쉽게 이겼기 때문에 용진 뽑아도 나쁘지 않을 것 같아요. 제가 봤을 때.
틀린 말은 아니네요. 테란이 맵이 좋았거든요. 제가 영사 당해가지고 저번 시즌에 맵이 중요하진 않아요.
아 근데 이번에 1경기 맵이 더 좋아요.
아니에요.
저번보다
저번
더 좋아졌어요
좋습니다.
지금. 그래가지고
아니에요.
제가 지금 고민을 하고 있어요.
아좀 징징대지 마세요. 아니에요.
그럼 바꿔서 합시다.
저는 이긴단 마인드예요.
종족이 우선이냐 맵이
네.
우선이냐.
아 역시
김성대예요.
그래도 돌고 돌아 김성대.
힘든 사람끼리 조건한 조건으로 잘 했으면 좋겠습니다.
C조로 가보도록 하겠습니다.
윤종이는 계속 그냥 다 상관없다 그래가지고 3투수 중에서 오고 싶으신 분이 있는지.
오! 추천!
지금 뽑히는 거는 별로 뭐 원하지 않아요.
저도 좀 나사가 빠져있긴 해요. 좀 싫어서 거기 가도 나쁘지 않을 것 같아요.
제가 더 빠져있긴 한데
아.
그래서 제 만만한 토스라서 3명 중에는 좀 뽑지 않을까 싶긴 하네요.
진짜로 오고 싶은 사람 중에서 뽑으려고 한 건데 재욱이 형이 오고 싶어
저
하는
오고 싶어 하시는 거.
저 안 가고 싶어요. 택시
안
뽑으세요.
가, 안 가보세요.
택시 뽑으세요.
와, 진짜!
원하는 사람 뽑겠다.
디조보단 나은 것 같아서
어,
그래서 괜찮다고 했습니다.
일장이를 먼저 뽑고 일장이가 저를 뽑으면 그래서 일단은 저를 뽑고 보는 게 좋을 것 같습니다.
지금 이 자리에서 가장 불만족스러운 사람은 한 명밖에 없어요. 김명훈.
그렇죠. 둘 중에 한 명이 D4로 가거든요.
김태경이 저를 뽑으면 민철이는 3저그조를 만들 가능성도 있어요. 태경 씨를 일장이랑 바꿀 수도 있습니다. 일단 저를 뽑아보는 것도 좋을 것 같아요. 그래서
네.
그것도 저도 좀 생각하긴 했거든요. 솔직히 풀투전진 저도 꺼려지기 때문에 저런 좀 통하는데요.
최초로 김명훈의 의견이 통했습니다.
한 명은 그룹 D로 가는데요.
아,
변! 김명훈! 와! 김명훈!
다들 웃음꽃이
웃고
피었는데 네, 여기서 만족하면서 올라가 보도록 하겠습니다.
명훈이 꺾였습니다.
택시는 다시 동굴 보내겠습니다.
윤종이 불행을 보면 올라가겠습니다.
형대 요새 갈랑말랑 하거든요. 보내겠습니다.
Hello and welcome to Group C of the round of 16 of ASL Season 19, done in partnership with Hot 6. Stronger, better, clean energy. Through Groups A and B of the round of 16 that took place last week, Sulky, Light, Jadong and Best made it through to the round of 8. As two strong Protoss and two Zerg are getting ready to play in Group C of the round of 16 today. Let's meet our players and have a chat. Hello, good to have you here. Let's first say hi to our seeded player Rain. Hi. Hi. You're now waiting to play your matches as you're joining us as a seeded player for the first time in a while. I'm curious as to your current form, so I was hoping to ask about that. I can see your eyes are bloodshot. Just how much did you practice for this?
일단 뭐 최대한
As much as I could.
요새 좀
I've been feeling tired recently,
근데 뭐 경기력에는
but
뭐 그렇게
I don't think it's impacted my performance too much. It should be fine. Even during the group selection ceremony, Rush told you, stop whining, stop pretending like you're having a hard time. You're one of those players who always shows up, always delivers. And many people are expecting you to go through today's group as well.
일단
Whenever I feel confident, I admit it. But this time, it's not that I'm not confident, I just don't know. I think the first game is very important. If I win that, I should advance. If I lose, I should get knocked out. That's how I feel. Let's talk to Rain's pick. Action. Hi. Hi. Last season you drank from the bitter cup as you were unfortunately eliminated in the round of 24. You're now facing the round of 16 after a while. How are you feeling currently? It really seems like it's been a while since I've been to the round of 16. I'm not really thinking about anything, I just want to be comfortable. You said he's struggling, I'm struggling. You expressed this wish to meet Rain on equal footing as you're both having a hard time. And you were very adamant in putting yourself forward, making an appeal, which makes me think you'd really have come with something special prepared. Yeah, but Rain is suddenly doing well again. He's changed his position, I'm now down below. But I don't think it'll matter. I'll just focus on the ASL today and I'll try to do well. Rain has just remarked that the first match will decide whether he's going to the round of 8 or not. What are your thoughts on this? Whenever you end up in groups like these, taking the first game makes things more comfortable. It's a fact. The first game will be important. It would appear our players have come prepared specifically with the first game in mind. Let's say hi to Bisu as well. Hi. Hi. You end up joining Group C after having made very enthusiastic appeals as you were preparing. Did your level of satisfaction in regards to Group C stay the same, or has it dropped? It was fine at first, but then I practiced and I couldn't beat Zerg for the life of me. I'm starting to feel a slight regret, but I prepared a lot regardless. So please look forward to me playing. I'm sure many will find it difficult to believe as you're claiming hardships in PvZ. It sounds to me you've kept yourself quite busy during practice though regardless. I lost to literally every Zerg there is online. This is a first for me. I think it's a result of me having taken a bit of a break, but I prepared well, so it should be fine. I'm ever so curious to find out what Queen thinks of this Bisu that keeps losing to Zergs online. Hello, Queen. Hi. You're a two-time back-to-back champion, and yet it's been so long since you've played here in the round of 16. This must feel odd to you. How do you feel? It's my first time qualifying for the round of 16 in a while. I want to enjoy myself. I came here relaxed. It would be nice if the result also ended up being good. Bisu has been having some trouble when practicing online, and in contrast, the performances you have been showing online in recent times were really good, which makes me think it would be difficult for you not to smile in this situation, Queen. In any case, I didn't just rest for 100 days like a certain someone. My win rate in practice is good, normally. StarCraft is an honest man's game. I hope today's results prove that. With a gentle smile, Queen stings Bisu with a sharp dagger. But Queen, surely, on a stage like this, Bisu is ever so strong. That's true. Say what you will about him, he is one of the greatest Protoss. I will not let my guard down today. Good. Let's unfurl some of those stories in Group C one by one, starting with Rain and all the way to the last pick, Queen. Everyone in this group expressed a degree of satisfaction, which makes it difficult for many to predict who will win, which players will be moving on to the round of 8. I'm curious as to what the players think. As a seeded player, who do you think will be moving on to the round of 8 out of Group C? Rain? I was satisfied with the group whenever it was first assembled, but now having practiced, I'm starting to think maybe I should have picked Terran? In any case, if I lose in this group, that means I can't get the championship. So I'm trying to feel satisfied, positive maybe. Oh, I see. Now 2 Protosses that many players say are struggling, Rain and Bisu, have a tremendously good record against Zerg in the ASL, Bisu and Rain. I would like to hear what our Zergs think about this. How do you feel about having these 2 players with such a strong track record against Zerg in the ASL together in your group? Action? I would always lose to Protoss in the ASL regardless of whom I played, but it's not something that I feel burdened by, and so even picking Bisu in the end, more than my opponent, I know I just need to do well. And today I kind of want to overcome ZVP? Action is very focused on some task he has come face to face with. What about Queen? Same group as those cream of the crop Protosses. Regardless, you seem sufficiently confident now. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'm confident, it's just that if my strong points shine, I should be able to go toe-to-toe with these two players, so I came here having practiced a lot. Bisu, is there anything you would like to say having heard Queen's take on the subject of confidence? I don't know what he ate. Like he's been like this since he came back from his honeymoon. He got really good. Before that, I too felt confident. He's just got better since November. I too find this bizarre. It looks like Queen's rise in terms of skill is low-key getting Bisu nervous. Let's close things out with our 4 players' final remarks. Rain? Regardless, I practiced with how much time I had left, and I'll do my best to advance. Right, action? Most of all, I'll work hard to have a good showing. Can't wait. Bisu? I'll try and get to the round of 8 for the first time in a while. Good. And lastly, Queen? It's been a while since I played in the round of 16, so I'll show a good performance. Can't wait. Looking forward to great games for the 4 of you. Thanks for the interview. Which 2 players will stay alive in this Group C of the round of 16 of ASL Season 19, done in partnership with Hot6, Stronger, Better, Clean Energy, and move on to fight in the round of 8? Let's kick things off and find out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the ASL Round of 16, Group C. Super excited to get into these games, Tastosis.
Yes, indeed. This group is ridiculous. Maybe not quite as ridiculous as the next group, Group D, the Group of Death, but it is insane. It feels really, really, really hard to predict. All 4 players look like players that should probably be in the round of 8. I honestly don't know which way it's going to go. I have ways that I hope it's going to go, but to actually predict this group is impossible.
It's a tough one. We've got a lot of players who looked really strong in the last couple years, but maybe haven't been completely dominating in maybe the last 2 or 3 seasons. So it's going to be fun. As an example, Bisu in this group, he's been very consistent in the ASL, being a very strong player, but never the strongest Protoss player. The same could be said for the other 3 players as well.
Yeah, I can't really deny it. Rain, when he's in shape, looks like the best. Action had a little slump there, I felt like, but I think he's really back in good form. The Bisu is I think Bisu's in excellent shape right now. He took a little bit of a break before this season anyways, and he's been grinding on the ladder and everything too. I've casted so many Bisu games lately because he's just been so active. So I think he's in great shape. But actually, the guy that I look at this group and I'm like, if I had to give an edge to anyone, it's actually Queen. From my point of view, Queen is actually the 3rd strongest player in the world right now. After Sulky and Hero, I think it's Queen. I think we're really in an era of Zerg dominance, and Queen is really back in good form. Every time I watch him play, I'm like, damn, he looks good again.
Yeah, Queen was a player that for a little bit we were wondering if this guy's going to usurp Flash, if he's going to kind of take over the ASL and be that front runner. The way that Sulky has now. Looking at Rain, I have to say, Rain, he's, as far as practice, pretty inconsistent.
Yeah.
You can check into his stream. He's done a lot of variety games. I know when he won a previous ASL, he kind of, I think, took a few months off. But at the same time, I feel like he's always a threat to anybody. You once said this, Tastosis, and I thought it was so true. He's the most talented player in ASL.
He is.
He really knows how to set up a good build, make the game easy for himself. He's able to do these kind of crazy macro, proper StarCraft games, or he'll have a very inventive build he can bring out once and never use again for years just to take a player out. So I always think he's a threat.
Yeah. I just wish the guy didn't have any personality, because I think we'd be in a completely different world as far as StarCraft goes. And that might sound mean, and it is, and it's selfish, but Rain is... when the Kespa players switched over to StarCraft 2, we were asking, we're like, hey, Kespa guys, who's going to come in from Kespa and dominate? and everyone said Sulky. Like, everyone thought Sulky was going to be the best out of the StarCraft 1 players to go to StarCraft 2. And actually, it was Rain and Sulky. Like, Rain actually rose up a little bit quicker. They both became GSL champions. They both went back to StarCraft 1 and became ASL champions. But the thing is, Rain is just super inconsistent with his play. Like, he plays a ton of League of Legends. He jokes around on stream. He just doesn't practice anywhere near as much as everyone else. But he's still like, he's just like, yeah, top 4 championship. I don't know, LOL. You know, he just like, he's unbelievably talented. He's won KSL, ASL, GSL. He was the first guy in GSL to win without a team. Like, there's so he reinvented how to play Protoss in StarCraft 2. In StarCraft 1, like, he was at the forefront of the heavy Dragoon styles that we see in PvZ right now. Like, I can go on and on and on, but one of the biggest things that I find, Tastosis, is, like, he's basically best friends with Flash. And birds of a feather flock together. Like, he's just smarter at this game than everyone else.
Well, he's one of these guys that was so talented as a streamer that, like, I mean, he makes a killing on his stream. His stream is so massive, and he kind of plays whatever games he wants. So it's cool to see he's back here in this ASL. We're going to see what kind of shape he's in a second here. Now, Action is a monster. He has been training hard. He has been wildly consistent in the ASL. We're going to go into our first match, guys. This is Rain versus Action. Okay, guys, starting this off real quick. Consider signing up for our Patreon. We need your support. We love StarCraft. We want to keep doing this forever. And we are so grateful for those of you who've decided to sign up and help our cause.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. It is super appreciated. Couldn't do it without you. So, yeah, you know, I spoke there for a minute about Rain and how ridiculous he is, but Action is one of the most consistent players, as you said. Like, he's been in round of 8 so many times. He's always underrated. At times, I think he's been third best Zerg in the world. And he's like, I feel like he's back in good shape because he was doing really well for a long time. And he's a macro Zerg, just throw this out there. He will mix in cheeses. In fact, he's one of the best at mixing in aggression. Like, similar to Sulky, where it's like, this is a great macro player that actually mixes in good cheese builds from time to time. I don't think he does it anywhere near as well as Sulky, but he does do it well. But he remember when he retired, Tastosis, where he did this big thing where he said he was retiring?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so, like, he was doing really well, and then he decided to retire, and he made a big deal of it. And then a week later, he was back, which always happens if you make a big deal of retiring, because if you have to announce to people, it actually means a lot to you, and you're not going to quit. You're just kind of frustrated or something. So when he came back from that, he was actually so cheesy, I didn't like his play anymore. And I think what it was, Tastosis, was he was just like, well, fuck, this is like the only thing I can really do for money. I've been a pro gamer since I was like 14 or 15, you know? And so for a while there, I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. He's just shipping it in. But he's back to playing like his really strong macro games now. Like, I've seen a ton of his games lately. He looks fantastic again.
I've always wondered if Action is eventually going to win an ASL. Like, he's been so good. He never looks weak versus anybody, by the way. Like, any one of his games you watch, the other guy has to put in the work to win that game.
That's right.
Just a scary player in general. By the way, Rain went for Forge into Nexus here. So basically, scouted and identified, all right, there's no cannon rush opportunity. A lot of maps, players will go Forge opening if they think they can get a cannon rush behind the minerals. So he's going to go for, the Nexus first, Cannon, and then Gateway, and kind of pick it up from there. This is also one of the entrances. I feel like this map's a little bit scary when you expand in there. There's a lot of ways that Lings can run in. Some bases are laid out so that there's barely any holes. Others, it's pretty big.
This map is so weird, like just the layout of it. It's, the crazy shape and size of that main base, the weird pocket that you have to go through to get to the natural and everything as well. It's just like, Metropolis is an insane map. I'm actually not having a good time on this map personally, but
yeah.
Yeah, I think it sets
I've
up.
had some challenges on this map for sure. Like PvP, I'm like, I don't even know if I can expand here. I think I'm just supposed to keep going Reaver. Like, you know, like it's your main's so droppable. The natural's so droppable from Reavers. By the way, it's going to be 3-hatch Hydra.
Not a huge surprise here. Again, Action definitely mixes in a good amount of high-level aggression, and you can see he's really zoning that probe out very, very well. Of course, Rain not losing the probe at all, just kind of keeping that thing alive. You know, I did find it a little bit surprising that Rain chose Action. Not entirely surprising, just because Action is so strong. I'm like, yeah, he could win this group, and I wouldn't blink an eye, you know? But Rain is really good Protoss versus Zerg. I think he's much better at this matchup than Protoss versus Terran. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
I do feel like he makes this matchup... sorry. I do feel like he makes this matchup look easier than any other player I've seen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always blown away by how Bisu plays and how Snow looks, but, like, Rain, he almost seems to be able to, like, sidestep the entire difficulty of the matchup. So this is not going to be an easy early game here. We got to see if the Probe or the Zealot is going to spot the Hydras, and if so, when. Right now, I think that is a Hydra in that egg that was just going to hatch that natural expansion, but the later the Protoss finds out, the harder this is to stop, basically.
Well, the Probe has just stayed alive so magnificently. Like, he has really kept this over here for a very, very long time. It looks like he does have a Zealot on the map now as well, although it is walking back. I guess maybe he saw a few more Lings there and got a little bit nervous about it. But Action is doing such a good job of pushing the Probe back that he's not going to see the Hydras quite as early as he would have otherwise.
And it seems like he's intuited that this could be a Hydra bust just by how much work the Lings are putting into blocking this. Like, he doesn't know for sure, but he's like, this really feels like it could be a Hydra bust. You know, a good Zerg that can disguise his movement early on a lot of times can kill a Protoss off. So he finally kills that off. He's made a third cannon. He's going to send the Corsair out. He could prompt these to cancel if he gets far enough across the map and doesn't see it. And this is, you know, a Hydra rush where the Corsair will have traveled all the way across the map before it identifies that this is going to be here. So he's going to try to catch it, actually.
Yeah, that's actually awesome. Look at that.
Oh, my
dude, what a setup.
Great play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite kill it, but, like, he knew exactly the flight path of that thing. So already a lot of damage on the Corsair. You know, the Corsair is an important part of blocking the Hydra Rush, like scouting and seeing when they're switching to drones, maybe even getting an Overlord during that time, you know, forcing Action to put a Hydra on it. So that was a great amount of damage you put on there, but now the Hydra Rush is beginning.
Yeah. He's going to try to come up here. I think there's enough cannons. I like the 4 Zealots over here on the side. It's just hard to reach any of these cannons that are tucked further away without being beaten up by the Zealots. The 2 cannons in the front are picked off, but there's another 4 that are going to be behind that. The gateway, oh my god, he's going to dive in again. He's going to go for this cannon and take that out too. Doesn't quite get the kill. He has to, like, step back and then dive back in once more. I think that Rain's going to hold this. The question is going to be, you know, how easily... Oh, hold on a second. He's actually got a lot more Hydras up here than I realized.
This is looking a little bit scary. You know, he's starting to pick off the Forge and the Gateway a little bit. He'll have to move in before those finish if he wants to really try to bust. The Zealots are actually very low on health too, but really it's about eliminating some of these cannons. Gets rid of another one. Zealot legs are done. So very fast Zealot legs here. He's going to be able to close onto those Hydras a lot more quickly. Some probes being pulled out. He's trying to keep that Forge alive, and that's definitely something that Zerg players want to target down. He gets the Forge, and I believe +1 did not finish there.
Yeah. He denied +1. That's one of the most painful things that can happen to you in the early game of a PvZ is now all your upgrades for the rest of the game are going to be behind. And in some senses, that's, you know, one way that the Zerg can consider that a winning battle, right? Is you took out the Forge, now +1's delayed, and it's just going to be a weaker push later on. I mean, that one moment there ripples through the rest of the game now.
That is going to be a pain. He restarts the Forge in the main base. I don't know if he'll end up going double Forge. I always like it when you go double Forge to try to make up for that, you know, because you'll end up having 1-1 at the same time as you would have if you had +1 finish. So I always feel like that's a great play. And honestly, I can't tell how Protoss players decide whether or not to go 2 Forge after something like this. I know whenever I play it, I always do it.
Yeah, I think you always want to go double forge after that and try to get 2-2 and try to do a push. The Zerg hasn't had the same comfortable opening that they would have had otherwise because they did the Hydra pressure, so I think it's a good move. Interesting to see the double DTs, by the way. Sending those out right away and then hiding them. And I don't know why he's hiding 2 DTs together.
I don't either.
I feel like these should have each gone to different parts of the map. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe he's like trying to avoid certain unit movement. Maybe he's getting his intel with his Corsair, then deciding what to do. I imagine he's going to split one to the third, one to the natural, or something like that. But I guess we'll see.
So he did go for double forge here, and I think he's going to basically go for control play. Is there no Overlord? Oh no, there is. There's one that just now is coming down.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, now you got to be careful with the DTs because you give them away at all, they're going to be hypersensitive to the risk of DTs running inside the base. He's going to try to come in from behind here, and he can get a few drone kills.
Not that many. Only a couple so far. He hides the other DT for the time being. Plenty of high Templars out there. Huh?
Did you see the Spire is hidden at the third base?
No,
I think
didn't.
the DT might have seen it.
Oh. No, I actually, my eyes did not see that, so maybe that switch into Mutalisk that we've seen so many times here after the 3-hatch Hydra.
Nice snipe on the Templar.
Why was he doing that? Was he, like, hoping that action wouldn't be on top of things? That looks like something I'd do and be like, oh, yeah, of course I shouldn't do that. As a non-Protoss player.
It feels like a move I would be doing, and as I'm doing it, I'm saying in my stream, this is a bad idea, and I lose the game. Like, it's like, why am I... I feel like I know this is a bad decision, but somehow this is the move I'm making.
Dude, oh my god, yeah. That's exactly.
So, yeah, no, I don't get it. That does not look like a safe move at all. I think it's always fine to storm Hydras from the safety of your cannons, but once you start to move out, you're just putting yourself at so much risk. In a perfect world, you just keep those Templars alive and get 3 or 4 storms out of them in a game or more. So this is a very common formula to beat Protoss, is you get the Mutalisks out here. They don't have Corsairs or the massive amount of Corsairs they would normally have because they had to stop that to make cannons to stop the rush. So the idea is now, because there aren't Corsairs, they can't be immediately killed off when they fly in. So the Mutas can shoot down the Templars, and then the Hydras win the game. So he's going to stay back. And in case you're wondering, but there's Dragoons here. Isn't he fine because of the Dragoons? The Mutas just ignore it. Like we're going to see here, yeah. It takes too long to actually kill all of the Mutalisks. And so you just kind of run through there. He may go into the natural and try to find some more. The Templars are stacked inside the cannons. So it would be kind of a high-risk play, but honestly, if he could kill 2 more, it would be worth it. He's going to come back over here now. He's baiting out some Psy Storms, killing off this cannon. This is annoying, man. This is a tough game here for Protoss right now.
He's already killed a couple of them, and that's huge. But one thing I can say about Metropolis, the 3-base setup on Metropolis is pretty easy to hold. It's almost impossible to break through if you just have a kind of a good setup, because the chokes are quite small and quite long, and obviously you're up a ramp at that third. The Corsairs actually come in and really help to damage those Mutas, picking off a few of those as well. But Action has done a pretty good job. He's taken a 4th base, but Rain's 3rd base is really fast here. So even though he lost a couple high Templars, I feel like he's still totally fine.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Corsairs accumulated later on. We talked a lot about how generally the best answer to this is to just make a Dark Archon and try to catch the Mutas. I have never... Well, I guess I can't think of a lot of games where I see them just start making Corsairs late and trying to fight back like that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really goes Corsair after in this situation. I never really see it. And it seems like Best is being a little bit stingy about making a Dark Archon. I mean, Rain. I think that was a little Freudian slip there, because I'm like, Best would have made a Dark Archon by now, and that's something I really like about his play. But it seems like Rain thinks that he can just handle it with the Goon High Templar.
One of the problems is if you do go for double forge, I wonder if you have enough gas to get the Dark Archon and the spell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is expensive.
Feels like... Yeah, the funny thing is when you hold off a cannon rush, every game's different. Like some people back off earlier, some people go, in harder later. So it could be hard to see, have a sense of where you can take the game from there. It's not a normal build order. You're kind of reacting to something and then trying to achieve something else later.
Right now, Rain attacking towards that 4th base location. No lurkers on the high ground, even though he does have some lurkers out. And the Hydra's kind of standing in a big arc there. He cannot break through there right now. That's one of the really cool things as well about this map is that mineral patch on the ramp. Like, that makes it so tight. It's really hard to attack up.
Yeah, it's super annoying, and you could also end up, getting worker drilled there, while you're trying to get up the ramp. So it's a tough spot to take on. There's one Templar here, but that was probably the storm that he needed. That took out a lot of Hydralisks. It almost appears like this is a push onto the rally point of Zerg here. That's a funny way that you can lose the game as Zerg is when the Protoss gets on top of your rally point because you have so many hatcheries you got to reset over here. He's continuing to fight these Dragoons out here. I don't see Templars. This looks like a Protoss versus Terran mid-game army.
It does.
Yeah, and that's not good. I mean, you're going to need to have storms eventually here. I don't see any Templars coming up. But that being said, I mean, for now, it seems like Rain's kind of making it work.
Oh my God, that was shocking. So
that's insane.
He macroed really, really quickly. The fact that he took a 3rd base that quickly and moved out with 2 High Templars, got 1 storm off on Hydras and broke everything. This is what we're kind of talking about with Rain, where this doesn't line up with my perception of Protoss vs. Zerg and what's possible. His PVZ just looks different, man. We're going to watch Bisu PVZ. We're going to watch, tomorrow mini PVZ, and those are the other 2 really great players in this matchup. And it just, Rain makes it look so differently where I'm like, wait, isn't it about High Templar retention and gaining value over time? He's like, no, idiot. I made a lot of Zealots and Goons. I only needed 1 Storm, LOL. It's crazy. Crazy.
I don't know how he does it. I 100% agree with you. He makes it look so easy that I'm perplexed. I'm like, wait, okay. I know if I queue up a game, I won't have those results. Guys, quick break here. Bisu versus Queen coming up next.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 토킹.
We're back, everybody. PVZs continue on. I wonder if we're actually going to have all PVZs today. That is possible.
That would be superb. I would love that.
Yeah.
But that means that Bisu has to lose Tasteless, which we don't necessarily want. With Jaedong in the round of 8 already, we need the potential of a Jaedong Bisu finals, because that would be the greatest finals ever of all time.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, look. Let's see what he can do here versus Queen. Queen's in very good shape. Bisu, for a long period of time, was like the greatest Protoss. Like, undisputed. This guy completely changed the way that the race was understood. Protoss in the very, very early days, when people learned how to expand in macro, Protoss had a hard time until Bisu kind of really refined fast expand PvZ, he looks tough. He's kind of kept in some ways his older fighting style, though. Like, he kind of just gets in the Zerg's face, kills overlords, takes out drones early, forces you to make a lot of lings, gets in these really great guerrilla harass positions behind minerals with the zealots.
Yes.
He's very good at that. He never, we've seen some players that have really reinvented their styles. But he has just refined this and perfected this, and it's always quintessential Bisu when we see his PvZ here. But Queen's a very tough opponent here. I'm really looking forward to this game.
ASL Season19.
Okay, both players starting out at the top. Bisu on the right side, Queen on the left. Yeah, let's see if Bisu Forge expands. Since we're getting, a real taste of PvZ at the highest level today. This map, I was saying earlier, it's tempting to go for Forge expand in any map where it seems like you can get a free win with a cannon rush if they go hatch first. But Bisu has really been a fan of that gateway style for a long time. And I do think that he is still one of the best, if not the best, at that opener.
100%.
Like, he's so good. He's so good at hiding zealots. I think sometimes Mini can be more impressive, but he's like way more risk-taking when he does it. Like, it's kind of crazy. And if he's sending the probe after Pylon back into the main, that means he's probably going to go for the gateway expand.
Yeah, let me tell you how I look at the top Protoss players. Okay, like, because in my mind they're all like superheroes with different superpowers. Like, Bisu is the best Zealot user and the best Corsair user, like, hands down.
Yes,
when I watch those two
100%.
units, yeah, he's by far the best of that. Rain, and I've been saying this forever, not just because of the game we just watched. He's the #1 Dragoon guy. He's just the best at using Dragoons in this matchup. And then you have Snow, who, in my opinion, is the best value player. Like, he just grinds people with Psystorm all game long. And then you have Mini, who's just, like, the best planner. And then you have Best, who makes Dark Archon, so I actually like him more than everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's like...
Best who just goes on 4 bases and breaks Terrans, and it's like, all right.
Yeah, but that's, for as far as PvZ goes, that's kind of the way that's specifically for that matchup. That's, like, each one of those top-end Protosses plays very differently from each other. Like, these are guys that if you watch a game not seeing the names, just based off of what I say, you'll look at it and be like, oh, this is so-and-so. Like, oh, this style, yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way you describe that. Whenever you send the probe in, this is, out of all the build orders in StarCraft, this is one of the most active ones. Like, you can do a lot of different things. From blocking the hatchery from being planted, to faking a cannon rush and kind of making them panic and send drones, to hiding zealots in different spots, or sending zealots out and then running them back. So you really got to have your eye on exactly what they're doing to make sure you're not missing any marks. Whereas to be honest, the Forge expand it's a much easier build. Like, if you're new to the game, just do Forge expand.
So true. So true.
You make the right number of cannons, and then you build your army, and you get to play later on in the mid game.
Yeah, it's a really good tip for people if you do want to start playing. Definitely copy a Forge expansion build. This stuff with the Zealots, like this right here, this is actually bad news for Bisu. Those are annoying. He's already lost 1 probe, and the thing is, these are just going to continually run around. Bisu will eventually kill them. Oh, the pylon, really nice, really nice. Gets an extra hit there because of it, but like, Yeah, when that happens, it's just if the Zerg is fast enough, you can cause a lot of lost mining time and maybe even more probe kills.
Oh yeah, you know, I'm confused about this. I thought that Zerglings could fit through the pylon if it touched the corner of the map, but I guess that's the left side of the map versus the right side?
Wait, you mean the one that's behind the minerals there?
Yeah, yeah. If I think on the left side of the map, someone's gonna have to find this out, by the way. But I know I never make pylons PVZ behind my minerals on the left side of the map because lings can fit through there for some reason.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Because this is like I remember when I first came back, I was thinking, okay, where am I going to put each pylon so it's optimized? And I thought, well, normally in every matchup I put one pylon back there so they can't do loop-de-loops around my minerals.
Yeah, okay.
And scout me. And then I remember watching my zealot chase lings, and lings just ran behind the pylon and kept going, and my zealot had to turn around. And I'm like, huh. All right, noted.
No, stuff like that absolutely exists. Like different sides of buildings are like tight at different angles. I mean, the amount of that you have to memorize for PVZ and for TVP is insane. But
yeah,
but that's wild. I'd actually really like to hear if that's the case, because that doesn't even sound right to me, because it's like, well, the pylon is symmetrical. Like, how could that have different properties on different sides? That's insane.
It's one of those things with old games, man.
Yeah.
You know, never going to get changed, so I guess you just got to learn it. So there's a lot of lost mining happening here.
2 probes.
It seems like Queen... Yeah, he decided to finally just dive. A lot of good Zergs will like go for it over and over and fake it out, and then in one move they'll just go absolutely in for the kill move and take out a couple workers. Very hard to deal with. You know, it's funny, probes can fight Zerglings, but Zerglings are such better, faster units that and you know, to the untrained eye, it might not look like a big deal. It might look like Bisu's been fine. He's been mining the whole time. I promise you, he's lost a lot of money moving probes around on the edges of his expansion.
Now, I got to point this out, Tastosis. Like, there's a lot of speedlings here, but he actually went 4 hatches and a Hydralisk Den. What is this build from Queen?
I've seen some games where Zergs do this, which they basically just drone up and get a much later layer. I think the one that you're probably used to seeing is you know, they get a layer on their 3rd hatchery, or after 3 hatcheries, I should say, and try to get a Spire, and they're basically trying to figure out, okay, is this like double Corsair or not? This is a different one, where he's not interested in getting that layer tech right away. I think there's a lot of different branches of this build. But you got to be careful when you're coming out on the map with this, because this is one of these comps where you're probably not going to die. You're not going to be overpowered by the Protoss in a fight, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like, you're going to have a lot of Hydras. As long as you block DTs, you're going to be okay. And this kind of makes sense, because what Bisu likes to do is he likes to get +1 Corsairs and +1 Zealots. And basically slam into the Zerg, kill Overlords. The Zealots are running in there and beating up the Hydras. Some of them are taking out drones, stuff like that. So it seems like Queen wants to go for a very, you know, beefy, low-tech style.
I really like this. Like, I don't think I've seen this particular build. It reminds me of some stuff I've seen Hero do, but, like, it looks really flexible. Like, he can produce a ton of units really, really quickly here. I love that he already has Zergling speed, which gives him, you know, counterattack options or options to just kind of keep Protoss back in their base a little bit. Now he's adding in some Hydras. But it does feel like with the amount of Zealots that Bisu has right now, as +1 finishes, like the Lings are going to become, you know, just paper mache basically. And I'm not sure, like, is he supposed to be able to bust him with a build like this?
I mean, it feels like it could be pretty dangerous. Keep in mind that when you do this, you don't really scout them, right? So, like, you know, there's a lot of weird, cheesy stuff Protoss could do. Like, I'm even thinking of Bisu. This was, like, years and years ago, but he, like, went for, like, Reaver with speed after Speed Zealots. You remember that game? And, like, this Reaver just flew out and was, like, killing the Zerg everywhere. This is not one of these games where Zerg has an exact idea of what they're doing. Instead, it's almost like they're just going to put pressure on here. And you got to be careful. You know, when you go for the Zealot speed and get a bunch of Zealots out and then the Templars, you have to get a lot of cannons to hold off Hydras if they put this kind of pressure on you.
Well, he has made a lot of cannons, so I don't think that Queen is going to be able to bust him here. That is a lot of Zealots. That is a lot of cannons. That would be a lot to kind of chew through. That +1 has to be almost done as well. He's added a couple more gates in his main base. He does have that Citadel, so I imagine Zealot speed will be done pretty soon. And he even has that Templar Archive, so I feel like I actually really like the way both players are playing. I like these styles. Like, it seems like Bisu is countering everything pretty darn well. He's playing a pretty safe game and, you know, continuing to make these units. And then over on Queen's side, like, he's threatening an attack, but his economy looks great. Like, he has a lot of drones right now.
Well, he never committed in there. So, I mean, he forced out a lot of cannons. That means all the gateways are going to be a little bit later. The Spire's finally going to start here at about 8 minutes and 45 seconds. So it's a very different pacing of a game. Now, we should also remember that Lurkers are pretty far away, you know, if he's going to get that. So I don't think there's an option for a Lurker contain, but we'll see. The 8 gateways are up. All that we have to have added in here is a Robo with observers, and the Protoss is finished with all their tech.
Well, you know, we've actually had Queen back up a little bit here, and with Bisu adding this many gates, look at that. That's 9 gates. I've seen this really a lot lately. 9 gate instead of 8 gate. Can you speak to why that would be? Because it's just something I've noticed.
9 gate means you can't expand.
Yeah.
So you know, you if you stay on 8 gateways and you're pumping stuff, and you don't end up getting your Nexus up, you will eventually have enough money. You just throw a 9th gate down here, and you're going hard at them. You know, so this is going to be a really powerful army. You know, I was wondering if Lurkers were ever going to come at all because the layers there, right? We saw the Spire made. I don't see any Lurkers on the map yet, but I mean, he could just try to move out with this big army and try to take a fight. I mean, if there's no need for detection, there's no need for detection, right?
Yeah, if it's only going to be Hydras that you're playing against here. Oh, he actually loses a High Templar there without getting a Storm off, so a little bit painful there from Bisu.
Yeah, the Zealots are coming out and doing a lot of damage. The Corsairs clearing the Overlords that are out on the map. Really good movement here by Bisu. He's basically not letting those Templars be too exposed. It is +1 attack and +1 armor here. There's a wall of Zealots just crashing into these Hydras, and the Templars are definitely moving behind them. There's not a real opening to go in here for a dive. This is a brilliant push, but the Lurkers are done. And we got to remember, there's no Observer with these armies. Even if there was an Observer, you can't run in there with Zealots.
Oh my God, Tastosis.
What is this?
Oh, the whole position is insane! That was crazy!
Oh my God. You don't really see hold position Lurkers in this matchup, because there's just not a whole lot of opportunities to do it. First of all, Protosses are never usually out on the map without observers. It's just with the army. That was insane. Hold position Lurker into Templar snipe. Into, now for Bisu, this is a failed push. All the assets he built up in the game are gone.
They're gone.
He's going to have to start over. Now, where's the observers still? And you know, has Dragoon range been researched? He needs to get... Wow,
that's so
is
late.
Such a late observatory. I think Bisu played this wrong, man. Well, I think he misread the situation because we didn't see Lurkers for a long time. He kind of thought he could just go in there and there would never be Lurkers.
Well, as a great StarCraft analyst, I want to point out, like a movie critic, like when he went to the natural, there was some foreshadowing of what was to come because there was one Lurker sitting there. And then he released it, man, and those High Templars just exploded. That was so great. There were so many of them clumped up. And now Bisu, like, I loved how he was playing the game overall, but what an excellently laid trap there. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Queen just on top of everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, Bisu is getting murdered here. The shuttle's been shut down. Protoss actually has to get a third base coming up here or lose the game. I think had he been more conservative with his army and then just gotten, you know, the 12 to 20 Dragoons with range, he probably could have just pushed at the natural and maybe it would have been a winning game. I think Bisu still got the right idea. He's running around with a small amount of Zealots to deny the 4th base. He has to buy time for himself on the map here. But, you know, I mean, the Corsairs are scouting. He tried to take 12 o'clock, and Queen was pretty quick to shut that down. He's actually going to go for a hidden base. This is very risky and unorthodox.
Well, he's got to do something, right? Like, that feels like a decent idea anytime you're really far behind, is to just kind of throw a base down somewhere. But unfortunately for him, about 100 Lurkers are coming up to deny this. It's like a hilarious way to go deny it, is just go burrow a bunch of Lurkers, chase the probe around with them. But yeah, he gets the pylon, he gets the probe, and so that bottom right is not going to be taken. Bisu trying to take his own 3rd base here. He has broken through that very small Lurker set at the top of the ramp there. And I think he can hold this. Like, this base is really hard to get up against Psystorm Dragoon.
I love just seeing Bisu run around with these Zealots, basically play keep away, be a headache. It's a lot easier for the Protoss to run around with the Zealots than it is for the Zerg to try to, hunt this down with the Hydras. Even a Lurker on hold position at the ramp is so funny looking. I guess that will keep the Zealots from escaping. So that's going to get cleaned up. The third base for Protoss on this map, it's hard to push down the ramp into the Zerg. You kind of have to go out the way you came in on your side and loop around. So there could be some pretty sneaky counterattack plays if Bisu doesn't divide his army up very evenly.
Now, that last course are going to go down. Not a huge deal right now. I don't think we're going to really see any switches into mutas or anything. But, looks like Hive Tech is going to be on the way here for Queen, getting some more evolution chambers as well. Bisu's still got, like, a pretty big army, a pretty high-quality army and everything. It's just, this containment, I can't see him breaking out of here very easily.
Yeah, it's a pretty narrow area for Protoss to try to push out of. Although, I got to say, Bisu's actually doing a great job so far. He might be able to bust this. I see, like 2 Lurkers back there? He's got more that just finished that are going to come up. This was that counterattack I was talking about. Is you're actually going to be pretty far away from your third base when you're trying to move out because of the shape of this map.
Totally. And this is a problem. A lot of the observers just went down. Only 1 remains, it looks like, at the moment. The Hydra's coming up, and they're picking off High Templars that have a lot of energy. Look at this. It's like a 2 to 3 Storm High Templar, 2 of them being picked off with 0 spells cast. Just Bisu's attention is fragmented all over the place, and Queen is really abusing him for it.
Yeah, they're going to push up this ramp now. I mean, Bisu needs to hold this base. I just don't know if these Dragoons are going to cut it. It feels like the numbers are too small. Protoss is lacking the complexity in its army to really fight this. Some Templars in the back are going to come up. He might be able to reclaim this. Is there an observer with this as well? I don't think I see one.
He had one, but it might have gotten picked off. I think it must have. Okay, here comes another observer now from that Robo. But he's losing so many probes. I think that's it, Tastosis. We're going to continue the PVZs because Bisu is not coming back from a game like this. Yeah.
I mean, on the Zerg side of stuff, it's actually been a very slow game for the 4th base, but it kind of doesn't matter because really the Protoss is a lot more pressure to try to figure this out than the Zerg is at this point in time. I mean, we might see Bisu just tap out here. He's been reset entirely here. He's back to square one on his base, trying to just get an army out here that can move out on the map.
Yeah, this type of reset really reminds me of TVP when you lose all your tanks and your third base. It's like, well, I mean, you technically won't die right now if you want to just stand behind your cannons, but you may as well leave because you're never winning at this level after that type of damage.
I do like that DT over there at that 4th base. That DT is keeping Bisu in the game right now.
Queen still has so much, though. Like, even if he loses this hatchery, Bisu with the reset army with no third base. I guess you're right. The DT is the only reason to even consider staying in this game, but an Overlord eventually does come down, so the DT has to back up for now.
You know, maybe Bisu could actually push down from his third base here. Oh, God, he really doesn't have that much, though.
No.
You know, right now, I mean, it's not obvious to Bisu, but for us, I can see that there aren't actually any Lurkers out yet. There's some eggs, but, you know, when the eggs are all morphing, that's like the best time to attack the Zerg. Because then they have to figure out, do I cancel and you know, run away, or do I let the Lurkers finish, but maybe my Hydras get pushed away and the Lurkers get killed? And he's going to come up here and get in between the natural expansion in the third base, because this way probes can't just be transferred up here. They'll be shot down from the Lurkers, which is another way to slow the game down, because you can't increment probes out one by one at your third base and expect to be economically viable.
Yeah, this does not look very good from right now. I like that he puts a couple Dragoons on the high ground there, but look at this, coming in with a flank now from both sides since he's taken up that area. And this is going to kill the third base. I think this is where we're going to see a GG from Bisu. Oh, man. I feel like he actually opened up playing well. It's just those Lurkers caught him so off guard.
Yeah, man. Hold position Lurkers versus Protoss. You don't see it all the time, but it is a tool the Zerg can use. And, you know, with Bisu, I just don't know if he should have pushed there. Didn't feel safe, right?
Yeah. If it was pure Hydra, like he might have crushed through everything. But the fact that he had really no idea, and then there were so many already burrowed, it feels like Queen was lapping him already strategically.
Great game there from Queen. He's going to be going up against Rain. Rain is just looking stellar. Rain makes the game look so simple that I feel like I actually don't understand StarCraft at all. How he's able to just get away with these pushes. But let's see how those two do against each other here.
Well, I think Queen is one of the very strongest players in the world right now and a potential winner of this ASL season. So we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, that winner's match, Rain versus Queen.
아 이거요? 아 미니로? 제가 좀 손가락이 좀 커가지고 잘 안 될 것 같은데 아마 실수가 많아요. 항상 치면은 그냥 하면 돼요? 산성미 치는 거 아니에요? 위에 치는 거구나. 아닌데 이거 근데 잘 안 보이는데. 이게 근데 너무 어려운데 이거 키보드가? 네.
140점 하셨거든요.
아 진짜요? 다시 하면 좀 더 나을 것 같기도 하고. 너무 어려운데 이거? 나쁘지 않죠? 집중하니까 좀 되네. 이거 좀 키를 이제 외워가지고 0점보다는 나을 것 같아요. 큰 걸로 하면 자신 있게. 큰 키보드로 하면 자신감 있게.
간단한 이제 미니 게임들을
원래 이렇게 봐야 되는 거예요?
네.
이거 지금 해가지고 그냥 클릭만 하면 되는 거예요? 바로 하면 되는 거 아니에요? 마우스가 구려요 근데. 진짜 구린데요? 시작하겠습니다. 이게 제가 프로게이머이기 때문에 이런 것도 미리미리 딱 이거 숫자를 미리 미니맵 보듯이 봐야 되거든요. 근데 이거는 약간 의도하신 건가요? 이렇게 이 마우스 이렇게 구린 거를 두신 거는? 여기 프로게이머들 평균치가 있다는데 약간 늙은 사람들만 있어가지고 오케이. 좀 빨리 한 거 같은데? 마우스 있으면 아까 프로게이머 평균치가 있다고 하는데 그 정도 할 것 같은데 마우스가 너무 구려요. 아니요, 그게 기쁘다기보다 다들 너무 늙었구나 이런 생각이 좀 슬프네.
미니게임 마우스가 준비되어 있는데
너무 작은데요? 작은 화면은 좀 잘 보고 큰 화면을 좀 더 클릭을 못하는 스타일. 뭐야? 아니 이게 마우스가 이게 스피드가 좀 정확도가 이게 왜 이렇게 어려워?
이제 바로 볼게임으로
할게요. 이거 왜 이렇게 어려워? 늙었나봐. 이 마우스 스피드가 이게 안 떨어져요. 이게 반응 속도가 이제 느려진 게 좀 체감이 돼요. 어렵다.
저희 오늘 진행할 게임은 미니게임 천국이고요.
이거요? 이걸로 하라고요? 너무 작은데요? 근데 이거 너무 작아가지고 제가 이제 손가락에도 좀 살이 찌고 있는 단계라 힘들 것 같은데요? 초등학교 때부터 컴퓨터 많이 했어가지고 타자 연습 많이 해서 꽤 빠르다고 생각하는데 이거는 자신 없는데요? 이걸로요?
네, 찾고 하셔야 돼요.
뭐야 이게? 아니 이거 진짜 잠깐만요. 잘못. 아니 이거 안 되는데요? 이게 아닌데? 아니 이걸 어떻게 하라는 거예요 진짜. 그래도 좀 어느 정도 감 잡히는데요? 그래도 생각보다 빨리 적응하죠? 아 포기. 아, 가겠습니다. 네 글자는 그냥 패스해버리고 세 글자도 패스. 좀 쉬운 걸로 하는 게 나을 것 같거든요. 제가 볼 때 이게 좀 전략적으로 해야 되네. 너무 아무거나 치면은 안 되고 쉬운 거만 하면 벌써 70점, 120점. 막 감 잡는다니까요. 자, 140점. 멘탈 나가는 상황이 나오더라도 좀 침착하게. 아 이거 누군가 조금 있다가 집어 던질 것 같은데요. 괜찮아요?
16강에 그래도 임하는 자신 있으니까 꼭 잘해보겠습니다.
이번엔 그래도 우승은 아니어도 그래서 시드까지 목표로 열심히 달려보겠습니다.
네, 이런 16강 진짜 오랜만에 왔거든요. 2년 만이라고 들은 것 같은데 오랜만에 올라온 만큼 꼭 더 높이 올라가서 좋은 모습 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
전 시즌에 시드 받았던 만큼 이번에도 시드를 또 노려보도록 하겠습니다. 열심히 하겠습니다.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. More PVZs. We're going to keep unpacking this matchup for you. This is going to be Rain versus Queen here. Both these guys looking extremely strong, very dominating performances in their previous best of ones. Now we're going to have a best of 3 to find out which player will advance into the round of 8.
This is going to be really fun because, you know, Rain has such a completely different style from Bisu, whereas Bisu really excels in utilizing his Zealots. A move like we just saw from Queen, less likely to work against Rain. This guy makes probably the fewest Zealots of any top Protoss player in this matchup. Like, he really likes to get into those Dragoons and have that very strong mid-game army.
That's a really good point. Yeah, he tends to not have, like, this insane amount of Zealots like Bisu does. Bisu really likes to have late Templars, lots of Zealots, Corsairs, stuff like that. Anyways, guys, this best of 3 is starting now. Let's get into it. Okay, we've got Rain in the top left and Queen in the top right.
All right. Should be a good one here. Best of 3, of course, starting out on Radeon. And, well, yeah, I don't know. It's Radeon, I think, is our best 4-player map right now. Would you?
It's a great map.
Would you agree with
that?
that?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It just
I've
feels,
had some great games on it.
Yeah, it has. It's at least interesting enough that different positions give you a different looking game, which I really appreciate. And yeah, it's just like it feels pretty darn well balanced. It didn't at the beginning. Like a lot of Terran players were thinking it was not a good map, but I feel like everyone's kind of retracted that. It's like, no, it's solid.
No, I think it's a good map. It's definitely one of these nice new maps where I think it's good for players of all ranges. Like it's interesting to watch pros play, but it's not a map that like a new player is going to get completely murdered on either.
Yeah.
So I very much welcome it. So this game, it's going to be Gateway Expand. I was very curious to see how Rain was going to approach this. And it's going to be a Gateway Expand where they're neighbors. So the back and forth can happen really quickly here when you're this close together. Queen is going to be going for hatchery first. I think this probe can block this. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it'll just barely.
Oh,
nice save. Okay.
That was so close. That was so close. I could see him thinking about it like, oh, is this going to work? Like a fraction of a second it wouldn't have. So he goes behind the minerals here. I think he's just kind of trying to fake him out. Like, oh, it might be a cannon rush. It has been a little bit popular to at least fake it out lately, but I haven't actually seen successful cannon rushes really on Radeon. And he's really trying to sell it, but this is not, I repeat, this is not a cannon rush.
This is not a drill. Yeah, I mean, he's trying to fake him out. It's kind of surprising to see him actually throw that down there. Oh my god, the moving shot's crazy.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have to cancel this pylon. You know, there's no, which is just lost money, right? So Rain going for a little bit of a risk there. it's pretty rough if you can't slow them down at all, and you win gateway expand. Because like the one thing that's nice about this, if you scout them right away, is the probe can block, and then you have like drones going in two different areas, and they're going to try to expand over there, and it's a tough game. My God, the moving shot's insane here from Queen. I don't think he can get this final shot off on the probe.
Yeah, it seems like he should be able to get away, and he's going to recover a little bit of health too. Eventually, it doesn't make sense to keep chasing. As far as making that pylon, I think here, because he forced him to pull a second drone, because that's why the second drone came down, right? It's because there was a pylon. Like, he lost more than 25 minerals from not mining that drone. Every 7 seconds, if you're talking about 1 drone per patch, counts as 8 minerals. So it's like, oh, okay, that it feels like that paid off, right? So, like, I think it's a reasonable move.
So there's a little bit of pressure here from Rain, who, by the way, has done such a great job of keeping this probe alive. You're basically able to see exactly how many lings are coming at you at any given point in time. He's still trying to force a few more Zerglings out. And it's been a conservative game here from Rain. He's not doing anything crazy. He's just going to get the forge up. No gas into core or anything greedy like that. The probe is going to try to loop around. Now, there is a lot of lings on the map right now. He's trying to show only 6, but I think there's enough out here that he could just surround these zealots. So this is a bit of a misstep here by Rain. 4 zealots is kind of the magic number of zealots where you can really fight a lot as far as Zerglings go. But if he's going to send these out, he wants to wedge these behind Mineral Patch or somewhere. And it looks like he's going to head towards that third base.
Oh, there's a lot of lings, though. He does have a cannon on the way, it looks like. But these lings going to come in. Okay, he brings a lot of probes down to help block that. And now the rest of the lings going. This is turning into a ling flood immediately.
Yeah, this is interesting because the zealot's pretty low. Oh, my God, he dives on the cannon. I think if he's got this mathed out correctly, he thinks he can pop the gateway and just flood it with Zerglings.
Well,
and it looks like he might not even have to take the gateway out at all. I mean, the cannon's forced to cancel. The zealots killed off. The zealots did kill that one hatchery, and they're going to head up towards the natural now. But, I mean, this is kind of a crazy situation. I just don't see how Rain's going to be able to stay in the game because eventually the 4 zealots will be held off here.
Yeah, he's going to GG. I have to be a little bit critical of Rain here. This reminds me of like something that you have to learn pretty early against Zerg, where if they're letting you kill a base, there is a counterattack coming. Like this is something you have to learn as a Terran player. It's like, oh, is your Marine medic at their third base? Well, you better be careful because they're about to attack you. Like, if they are not dealing with it, if he's letting his third hatch die, it's not like he's at home. He's like, oh, no, and he starts his lair and makes 2 more drones and a sunken calling. That's not happening. Like, come on, Rain, what are you doing? Like, he should have pre-pulled all of his probes, surrounded the cannon. It was obvious when Queen was not even trying to stop those 4 zealots what was going on there, and Rain just didn't react. So I think that
you are so
was
correct.
That was a big miss from him. I don't know how he screwed that up.
Yeah, and I mean, all you have to do at that moment is stop the Ling Flood, and you win the game.
Yeah.
Take all your probes, as many as you can, have a wall of probes, just get extra cannons, remake the gateway. If you lose it, you're going to be fine. Anyways, guys, we're going to go into game number 2. Right now, Queen up with a 1-0 lead versus Rain.
So we're going to go into Polestar here for map number 2. We have Rain there in the top right and Queen in the bottom right. I like Queen's shirt. Easy mind, good mood. Make lings.
Is that what it says? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hope that Rain has a better, start to the series. I do think PvZ can be a little bit treacherous early on. Like, there's just a lot of things that can backfire and blow up in your face, similar to like TVP, where it's like there's just a lot of things that can go wrong. Like, if you have a clean opening, you're going to be very comfortable later on, but especially with gateway expands, which by the way, I think gateway expands are generally considered a little bit stronger.
I think
like
you're
there's
right.
more that you can leverage. You can create more opportunities, but they also are a little bit riskier. There's moments where you're definitely not operating with 100% information. And so things can get complicated. Like, I think he did a pretty good job pushing with the 4 zealots and sending them down to that base. I think there's a spot behind the minerals where you can wedge those zealots there. But Queen identified that the travel distance is very short. And so he can just counterattack with Lings and kill him immediately, which is what happened.
It was well done from Queen, but I am still kind of surprised that such a smart player as Rain didn't anticipate this, because it's like, well, it's not like you're just getting his hat trick for free, my man. Here, Rain is going for a double probe scout with that forge, but it's an overpool from Queen, so plenty quick. There's no way a cannon rush can really do anything against him, and Rain will figure that out and be able to just kind of defend and make a nexus.
Yeah, depending on the distance, you know, some maps you're further away from each other than you are in other maps. You either go for Nexus Cannon or Cannon Nexus. And so, yeah, he's going to see that the Lings are just now starting up. You do a double scout off a forge, because if they go for hatchery first, obviously, then you just want to try to cannon rush, especially on maps like this where there's room behind the minerals. It's a very strong move.
You need that second probe anyways, right? Like, if you're doing a cannon rush, you need a second probe to come in the front.
Yeah,
and add that
that's exactly right. Yeah. You need a second probe to come in there, because one probe is going to be behind making cannons. You want another one out in the front blocking the creep colonies and stuff like that. But, you know, I don't see a lot of pro games where people go hatchery first, to be honest. It feels like overpool is probably the safest, most straightforward way to play the game, because you are also taking a big risk as Zerg if you're going to do that, right? I mean, there is a strong rush that can punish you.
Overpool has actually gained a lot of popularity against Terran as well lately.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
How funny is that?
It's like definitely
my
Hatch
God.
first is still #1, but yeah, it definitely is being used now. But I like the pairing of the builds. So like Rain did a fake cannon rush in game 1, and then tried to do a real one in game 2, but Queen had already gone hatch first and now went overpool, so it's almost as if he kind of like anticipated this pairing of build orders. Because stuff like that can work really, really well, where you kind of set the tone, where it's like, you know, like a lot of people might want to rush in the first game of a series to kind of be like, all right, you better play defensive, you know? And I feel like we're seeing that kind of like small mind game play out here from these two.
Yeah, it didn't pan out in this game, but yeah, I mean, it's a great idea. Like, fake a cannon rush in game 1, and then set it yourself up to actually do a real cannon rush in game 2. We don't oftentimes see strategies that, you know, are within different games in the series kind of linking together, but this was definitely one of those moments. So Rain is just continuing to scout. This is a fairly ambiguous game right now for the Protoss, because you don't know if there's a layer up, you don't know if a Hydralisk Den has started, or if it's like some kind of weird Ling flood. You know, you don't have a whole lot of information, so you're basically kind of running around on the outside of the Zerg's base, just waiting to see if there's any information that can be given to you, so you can know what kind of game you need to set up for in the next couple minutes.
Well, right now the probe, this new fresh probe, is getting some pretty reasonable scouting done, staying alive, keeping that high health, checking back and forth. Stargate, of course, on the way here. Ooh, nice little catch there from Queen. Gets a little bit of extra damage there on the probe. But yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary. You know, we had a little bit of back and forth there with those Lings almost getting in against the Morphing Cannon, but Rain really knows his timings better than anyone. I'll never actually forget, like, how shocked you were in a KSL match once from him, where he went like 11 Nexus, I think it was, into a forge, and you're like, there's no way. And then the cannon was ready just in time. Do you remember this?
I do remember this. Yeah, he's really good at just kind of, you know what he does? He probably just on every map has a practice partner that he just gets the exact perfect timings mapped.
Yeah.
You know, and I the truth is, I think some of the other players in ASL don't do that kind of stuff. Like, it's not glorious, it's not exciting,
it's so
not
boring.
Money matches.
It's so boring, but yeah.
But, like, that's doing your homework.
Yeah.
Just, you know, on each map, go, okay, so, like, you know, how greedy can I be? All right, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember this for each of the spawn positions on every map, instead of just doing it on 13, right, like everybody else does.
Yeah.
So he's always able to make the game easy for himself. By the way, for people watching, I know we have a lot of people coming back to StarCraft. I mean, it's never too late to start. There's a lot of good players, so that can be intimidating, but there's also a lot of new players, a lot of bad players online. One of the best things you can do for yourself,
so many bad players online,
is to. One of the best things that you can do is just practice like a build order against a computer. Just like
it really is.
Try to figure out a few simple things before you plunge in head first into like all the adrenaline and stress and of multiplayer games. It's really good to kind of lab things out to get familiar with your build orders, stuff like that.
Mini is actually the most successful Protoss in ASL history, and he spends more time practicing in single player than in multiplayer for ASL matches. So just to put that out there, this is not a joke. And I will tell you that my biggest gains are when I play single player, but it's so not glorious and not fun compared to multiplayer that I barely ever do it.
It's exact same thing for me. I remember, my brother, he was a more successful tournament player, and he spent a lot of time just practicing stuff against a computer. By the way, when you say this, I don't mean like you beat the computer. I mean, because you can just not die. It's so easy to not die to a computer when you get to a certain skill level, but just having everything mapped out and kind of knowing what you're trying to do without a player in the game is very helpful to do.
Yeah. Okay, so mutas are coming out. He did already snipe a Corsair, so that's a pretty good start there for Queen, but it seems like Rain, he's playing it pretty carefully here. He's keeping his Corsairs right near that Photon Cannon. Really nice SimCity over here for Queen. Rain runs in but does run away. He's going to see these mutas coming up, so at least now he can prepare a little bit extra for the Mutalisks.
Yeah, that's a really good scout for him, because he knows what kind of game this is. Now, it's not clear how many more Scourge or Mutas are going to be made. There is this sweet spot for Zerg where they get about 5 Mutalisks, and they don't commit more than that, and, they can scare the Protoss into making, like, 11 Corsairs. But how many Mutas is this? It's 6 right now.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a tell that he saw 6 with the Zealots, because 5 is what one-shots a probe. So that's the first number that if you're going to make Mutas, it's going to be 5. And if you're going to make a lot of mutas, it'll be more than 5. So just seeing that there's 6 already, unless that's the most complicated mind game ever, is
I think
a good
that
idea.
might be what he's doing. I think that there actually might be a move where he's going to make 6 to try to spook Rain into making way more Corsairs, and he's just going to stay back and go for Hydras earlier.
You might be wrong. That would be an insane mind game.
Let's see.
Like, seriously? Guys, this is not a joke. If you go watch, hundreds of replays of this matchup, you'll see Zerg makes 5 mutas or a ton of mutas. There's not like, I want 6 or 7 here. No, you want enough to one-shot probes. So if he does that, if he just sits on these 6, and now you're seeing he's flying around with these. He does have +1 carapace, which again points towards mass muta, and he has a lot of Scourge there, but you're right, he's actually going into Hydras. So how many Corsairs are there now? This is really interesting from Queen. Like I told you, man, he's in really good shape.
Yeah, he's being really smart. So what we always meme about Ogre Zerg Gamer, but that is what he's afraid of. He's afraid of, an insane number of Scourge coming in here with mutas and clobbering the Corsairs, and he'll lose control of the main. But really, this is just like a modest harass with a lot of Scourge. He has to make Scourge eventually because the Corsairs are a problem, right? If he kills all the mutas, he's then going to go kill all the Overlords. But yeah, it's very quick Hydra tech here. Now, when you're Protoss and you're fighting against mutas, obviously, you make a ton of Corsairs, but that delays your Templars. And a lot of the way that this matchup is played and understood is kind of trying to throw the Protoss off balance. Maybe they've got enough Corsairs, but you don't have enough Templars on the ground to kill the Hydras. Or you've got mutas, and they don't have any way to protect the Templars, so you snipe that, and then the Hydras win. So, kind of an interesting game here so far. And, again, it's one of those Rain armies, right? His armies are so small early on in PvZ. It's like a tiny number of Zealots, Dragoons pretty quickly, and then some Templars.
Well, right now, the mutas try to come in. You can see those Scourge. Wow, very good dancing there from Queen, trying to avoid the storm a little bit. It does get a few. And another great preemptive storm in the flight path. He's not picking off that many. It looks like the Corsairs are going to be able to dominate here against those Mutalisks. But really, it's a mostly Hydra-based army for Queen. But he is not attacking. It doesn't seem like he feels like he can attack at the moment. He is going to set up a 4th base, though, at 6 o'clock.
I really like that he stormed some of the Scourge.
Yeah.
You don't actually see Scourge stormed very often, but when they're bunched up like that, you can basically turn the tide of a fight. Because the Scourge have one shot to fly in there and kill you, you know. And so just like having a little bit of extra damage and then letting the Corsairs clean that up and then the chain targeting from there, I think it's a genius move. And, you know, from here, I think there's no way to contest the third base. Rain is just going to keep growing.
And I forget how much damage a tick of Psystorm does. I think it's like 18 or something. So, like, if you hit a Scourge at all with Psystorm, the odds of it getting out are almost zero. It has to be on the very fringe, already moving in the direction, because it will die in 2 damage ticks if I'm not mistaken. Like, Psystorm doesn't deal all this damage at once. It does it. It's like damage, like that. So yeah, it's like Scourge cannot get away from Psystorm.
So the third base is going to be taken up here at 12. There's one Ling that's going to contest this. I think the rest of the army can come here and clean this out. Yeah, I mean, Rain's playing a very solid game. I don't see any way for Queen to kind of come in here and take any fights. He does confirm that this isn't a double expand or anything like that. The other base on the side is going to be picked off. And I mean, from here, Rain's at like 166 supply. This feels like it's a good time to push. By now, you have everything you need. I assume there's an observer trailing somewhere behind this army, but yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to find out in a second, but this is probably a good time to put pressure on the Zerg.
Yeah, you know, this is like going to be a huge amount of Lurker Hydra, but that is what generally Rain does pretty well against since he is so Dragoon heavy. Now he's starting to push across here, and a very well-spread army, a ton of energy on these High Templars. He's really been banking for a long time. Throws down a few storms here. These storms, honestly, I don't feel like those were very good storms at all. Feels like he committed a little bit early to those. The Hydras hadn't really come in to defend the Lurkers yet, so he will back up.
Yeah, it's kind of a narrow area to try to push into, so I don't know that he's going to have a whole lot of success here. You know, we normally see PVZs, when the Protoss wins, they win with a push around now. But I'm getting worried that there is not much time left here. We have the Hive started. When Queen gets Defilers, just like TVZ, although the game operates differently, it's kind of the same rule. You know, the Defiler really just changes the whole matchup, because then you can Dark Swarm, you know, and you can't push into Lurkers easily with Dragoons. So it seems like Rain is going to basically try to do that timing push right now.
It doesn't seem like he has quite enough. He actually has a huge amount of supply. It feels like he's macroed up more quickly than I'm used to in the matchup. But yeah, I guess he just hasn't really wasted any units as of yet. But like this setup of Queen is macroing so cleanly here. He's got his 4 bases up. He's got a good spread of the Lurker Hydra. And he's doing a good job of not like overcommitting his Hydras into the storms while defending.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be really hard for Rain to push. I assume that Defiler Mound is... Oh, I guess the Hive's not quite done, but the second that's done, the Defiler Mound comes down.
Yeah,
so,
Adrenal as well.
Yeah. Adrenal is brutal for Protoss. It's suddenly your Zealots are no longer anywhere near as threatening. So Rain is going to try to come in once more. And, I mean, the spread is pretty wild here. I don't quite see the number of Lurkers I think you're supposed to have for this. Okay, I guess there's more coming on screen now here. Let's see if Rain can bust this.
No, I don't think so. It's just the arc that Queen is falling back into. You just can't do it. The amount of damage that Zerg is putting out is insane. As long as he keeps this macro up, it feels like he's invincible.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like it's so hard to push through. I also feel like Rain has been backing up a little bit too much sometimes. Like, if there are no Lurkers there, you can just try to attack in again. So Rain's going to take his 4th base. We're going to go into late game PVZ, it looks like. Protoss could not push and close the game out. And look, I mean, PVZ late, I mean, it can be very, very long and very interesting and dramatic. Protoss is going to get up to 4 bases, and then the objective from the Protoss's perspective is going to be to try to get the natural of the top left base. You could make cannons on the high ground on the ramp, but the idea is that you can just turtle with cannons, Templars, maybe DT and a Reaver or something like that at a natural, and you get the main for free. Whereas if you took a ramp and took the main, the Zerg can sometimes, at minimum, prevent you from getting the natural below you. At most, they can get a hatchery there and just expand there. And PVZ, you know, it doesn't always come down to like who's got the last base running, but it can.
Yeah, you can definitely have games where you run out of money in this matchup. It takes a while to get there, but this could be one of those games. Just the fact that Rain is not being wasteful and Queen is not being wasteful. Because I feel like even at top pro levels, like by now someone normally has thrown away a big army. And neither of these guys are doing that. They're both playing like really carefully, defending really well, and attacking really well. So what we're watching here is like they are both dialed in right now. And I think we're just going to get into one of these games where Rain just continually moves back and forth like this, while Queen... Look at how Queen is moving now. 3 different armies are moving around the map while he takes that 5th base.
Yeah, and it's extremely important Zerg also takes that base down there. A good amount of cannons over here. Also, by the way, in these positions, the east and west bases are very important. Like, Protoss doesn't want to let Zerg get both of those. Zerg doesn't want to let Protoss get both of those.
Do you mean 3 and 9? 3 o'clock
yes.
and 9 o'clock? Okay.
Yes, because these corner bases that it's somewhat, it's kind of ambiguous who's supposed to take it, right?
Yeah.
Whoever rushes in there and gets that first, it's going to be pretty big. So I think we actually are going to see Rain try to take that base at the center right first and drink up all the resources there before trying to focus on the top left.
Okay. That does make me just a little bit nervous because this is the most pushable base. And sometimes if you... Like, what you're talking about, the way you're describing it, actually reminds me a lot of Terran versus Terran, where, like, those would be the 2 important bases here. And also in Terran versus Terran, if you were to take, like, 3 o'clock right now, instead of thinking about top left, then you'd be like, oh, there might be a time where he has some zone control on the left and it would be very hard to take, right? Which is actually what I'm kind of nervous about right now for Rain. Like, if he doesn't think about setting up that top left, is there a chance that Queen just grows into the left side so strong that he's not able to take it later?
Could be an issue, man. I mean, I think we're going to be in for a long one here. This is really sizing up to be like kind of a crazy late game PvZ here. Do we have Reaver tech? Because that's the other thing that Protoss, that's sort of the final piece of the puzzle is Reaver tech with shuttle speed and, Scarab damage. I do see these games where pros don't get it, and I'm always confused by that because, the Reaver makes it so that you can't just die to Dark Swarm.
Yeah. Reaver is so important in the late game in this matchup, just to protect the extra bases and everything. Looks like Queen will move up the right side a little bit, and, no Nexus yet at 3 o'clock, but he does deny the possibility, while Rain is just flowing to the bottom left. He wants to kill off this 5th base, and you know what? If he can get it, if you get this back down to 4 base versus 4 base, Rain's way ahead at that point.
Oh, yeah, 100% he is. It seems like he's trying to come up here to possibly intercept like the counterattack.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is... Oh... Yeah, I just don't know. I feel like he needs Reavers here. You can't really kill the Lurkers when there's Dark Swarm on top of them. I mean, you could Psystorm it, but, like, they get a lot of Dark Swarms out here. So it's not a really feasible solution to this. But I keep looking at Rain's army. All I see is Templars. I don't see a shuttle. I don't see Reavers. I don't see the Robo Support Bay even.
No, that is making me a little bit nervous here as well. But he's spending his money down really, really quickly. And he's, like, just maintaining this pressure. He's roaming back and forth. So I kind of understand what he's going for here. He just keeps repositioning his army. And like you said, he intercepted that other one coming up. He Psystormed a lot on the Lurkers. He's pulling back every time the position becomes unfavorable. And I think he's looking at this as, like, if I do this enough times, he will break somewhere.
Yeah, he's trying to get the position, off-centered here. I mean, look, this is a lot of great storms. This is kind of a crazy moment. He kind of, like, looped back through here and then hit these Lurkers from a weird angle. The thing is that these are going to be cracklings coming up here. In fact, there probably already are cracklings out here. I don't think that Protoss can keep just making Templars and the rest and try to, mix that back into a push. Again, once Hive's done, it's very, very hard for the Protoss to just push through and break the Zerg. You have to get into a kind of a weird, scrappy game.
Yeah. In fact, we have drops coming up now, which is one of the scariest things that can really occur. Like, if you drop cracklings into a Protoss base, you've never seen anything as funny as how quickly all the gateways die. It is
it's crazy.
Upgraded cracklings deal damage so quickly. It's like the best unit in the game, man. It's ridiculous. Yeah. The whole base could disappear in a matter of seconds.
He's going to come down again and try to push over here. I don't know if he has enough Dragoons. Where's the Observer, too? Okay, he's got an Observer with this, but again, it's going to be pretty tough to break through here. This seems like a very bad decision from Queen to try to just kind of throw these units in like this.
Well, he keeps on coming around trying to defend against these attacks. This is why Rain keeps seesawing back and forth. He's looking for these insanely good engagements where Queen is kind of running in and taking it poorly, but his supply is getting smaller over time. You know, he hasn't secured a 5th base. We haven't seen him get into any other tech either. And while he's taking some good fights and everything, Queen's economy is still growing.
No, Queen's definitely where he wants to be in a long game like this, and it just seems like Rain is not. And you can even see there's a small red dot over in that top left base because he knows eventually the target's going to be that natural up there to expand. He just wants to make sure he's got his eyes on that. And Queen's now running in here and just diving, one-shotting a Templar. Ling's kind of trapping these Zealots on this side of the fight. And as time passes, I mean, Rain, his army is looking more and more measly, so that's going to be it. GG. Rain taps out, kind of unable to transition into the unit composition or the base structure that would make the game playable in the late game.
Queen, you know, I mentioned at the beginning of the day, I feel like he's the 3rd best player in the world right now, and I think he showed that here today. Like, Queen is really in top form, and... like, here's the thing. I do think that Sulky is better than Queen for sure. But if they were to play each other ZVZ in ASL, I actually give it to Queen. Like, this guy really might win this season. And that would be huge, because that would be a 3rd ASL victory for him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he had 2 in a row, right? And then he had some close calls almost taking it. But yeah, that would be wild to see him come back on top here. Quick recap. I don't know what to say about Rain here. It felt like he just never moved to the next phase of the game. We were waiting for Reavers. We were waiting for other bases. You know, maybe in his head he thinks, I can't win in the late game, so I have to just try again with a push. And maybe, you know, the Zerg is taking, you know, their foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, and you can hit them at a certain angle that they're not going to be ready for. But, you know, I think once the Zerg gets that hive, it should prompt the Protoss player to get the Reaver tech.
I definitely
get an extra
agree with
robo,
you.
maybe even at each base. You end up just getting like a lot of robos and trying to play a long game. And I do think it favors the Zerg slightly.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a little bit harder of a late game. I think just the same way that Protoss, I think, has, you know, very strong in the mid game with the push, and that's how they win. I think the Zerg in a very long, drawn-out, crazy game, I think it's a little bit tougher for the Protoss, but... anyways, yeah, he just didn't get to it, man. So,
well,
you know,
it definitely felt like what you said, that it seems like he thought that he'd be behind there. And so he just kept on doing these attacks. And the thing is, if you go back and forth like this, sometimes your opponent will just misstep enough that you break a position, you know? Like, he's coming over here. There were some great storms here. Look at these storms. Insanely, insanely good storms.
Yeah, I mean, it's... They were great. I mean, you were totally right, too. You can get a Zerg out of position. Like, sometimes you can hit one area, and they'll move lurkers from another area to try to help defend that, and you can kind of go back and forth, and then suddenly, you know, one position's just not defended, or you can intercept lurkers when they're all on the move, and sometimes that's all it takes, but, I mean, Queen was having none of it. And by the end here, I mean, he's literally just throwing lurkers in there and burrowing right in front of the army to kill stuff.
Yep. All right, let's go to an interview here with Queen, see how he's feeling.
You're watching Group C of the round of 16 of ASL Season 19, done in partnership with Hot 6. Let's meet Queen, today's first player going to the round of 8. Congratulations. Thank you. Truly, a long time since you made the round of 8. This new force you stirred up manifested itself with good results. Let me ask, how are you feeling having made the round of 8 after such a long time? Even the round of 8 was something I played after a long while. I worried whether I could actually make the round of 8, but these good results I've been getting recently just continued through today. You move on to the round of 8, not dropping even a single set today. I asked you before this interview, easy peasy? And you said something along the lines of, it wasn't bad. What was it you said? I said, the slander has been exposed. I actually had an easy time advancing today. Everything was on top of my opponents making a lot of mistakes, and I also had luck on my side. In the first game against Bisu, what made it apparent that your form truly has gone up was that at a time you should have been defending, you went for a counter-attack at the 12 o'clock. A tactical movement that is not easy to carry out as a Zerg player. I wanted to ask how you make that judgment. Initially, I didn't plan on attacking. Instead, let's macro up to Hive and look to a drawn-out game, I thought, but I saw I was way ahead, so it occurred to me, maybe it'll work. Judgment based on instinct that led to victory against Bisu. You came prepared with a plethora of builds today. In the first set against Rain, you went for a Gambit with a Zergling all-in. Was that something you had prepared? To be honest, it was more of an on-the-spot decision, but as I was doing it, it felt it won't work. I thought, this didn't go well, but I think Rain made a mistake. It seemed I was getting stopped, but I got lucky and the link slipped in, and it worked. And in the second set that followed, Rain showed a safe and solid Protoss. It was apparent with how he moved his Corsairs, how he macroed, economized, but it still felt inadequate in comparison with the force you are showing, your fastidiousness, in how you went through with just the correct attacks whilst macroing up to Hive at 7 o'clock. All of these judgments could only lead to another victory. How satisfied are you with your own performance today? All in all, I think I did pretty well. But if you go into details, there were some unfortunate calls from me. The result is good, but I think I can still improve some things. I wonder if we will see this improved performance from Queen in the round of 8 match. Now, we still have Group D to go, but so far the players you can meet are light and the best. Considering what you showed today against Protoss, you will be hoping to play best, perhaps. What do you think? That's true, but regardless of who I meet, I always approach it with, as long as my skill comes out, I can beat anyone. It's all about my own performance. Well, you are a Zerg who has reached the very peak twice already, and many people will be looking towards you as the arch enemy that can prevent Sulky from getting a 4-peat. What are your motivations ahead of your first extended series in close to 2 years? Sulky has been doing remarkably well. What with him getting 3 in a row? I want to do well myself, so I searched my mind for those memories of past championships. I'll make sure to stop him this time. I'm sure many colleagues were instrumental in helping you raise your performance for today. Yes, I would like to express my thanks to Best, Mini and Sulky for helping me practice. And would you like to say anything to the fans? Given it's my first round of 8 in a while, I'll prepare for this extended series and try to get seeded. Can't wait to see an even better performance from you. Congratulations on advancing. Thank you. And there you have Queen, today's first player through to the round of 8. Let's take a look at our raffles. First up, we have an offline event for those watching live at the studio. Upload a photo or a video of yourself to social media and then post that as a comment under the event post. 10 people will receive power banks, and we also have 1 ASL uniform to give away. Please participate. We also have a winners prediction event on the Soup Esports website, taking place all throughout this round of 16. 4 people will be receiving prizes there. We look forward to having you participate. We'll take a short break and come back with today's losers and decider matches.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 토킹.
This morning stress. I'm feeling lighter. I'm finally feeling like I can breathe. The night is calling. Tension, come blowing a breeze. We're rolling downtown. We're grooving to the sound. We're rolling downtown. The weekend's here and it feels so right. I think I'll break the skins out tonight. I'm gonna go out and have a good time. Ain't nothing gonna stop me tonight. Ain't nothing gonna stop me tonight. Gonna throw my clothes on, tell my crew what's up. Just wanna party, ain't nobody looking for love. The music's popping, this beat has got me feeling alive. Head to the strip, these wheels gon' light up the night. I'm living in a fantasy, come on and take a ride with me. I'm trying to put your mind at ease, let me know that you're feeling me. I'm living in a fantasy, come on and take a ride with me. I'm trying to put your mind at ease, come on and get down with me. We're rolling down, grooving to the sound. We're rolling downtown. The weekend's here and it feels so right. I think I'll break the skins out tonight. I'm gonna go out and have a good time. Ain't nothing gonna stop me tonight. We're cruising by the city lights.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another PvZ. This time, these two players are fighting for survival here. Bisu versus Action. One of these guys is about to get knocked out, Artie.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit nervous for Bisu because, again, Action's in very good shape right now, and he is kind of like one of the Hive Kings. You know, he's so good at Defiler play, and that's where I'm a little bit nervous. You know, the Defiler is the greatest unit ever made in any RTS game, and Action is known as the best, or one of the best at least, at utilizing that unit. So if Bisu can't put really good pressure on in the early and mid game, this could be a tough one.
All right, guys, we're going to be going into Dominator here for map 1. Bisu versus Action. Getting ready to start up over here. Artos, we don't see Bisu in that many endgame situations, PvZ.
No. He
Either
brings it
push
to a
or
head. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of wraps the game up. Anyways, guys, we're ready to get into this. Let's go. Okay, Bisu here in the top left. Action in the bottom left on our 3-player map.
Yeah.
By the way, I really enjoy this map. Do you like this map?
Dominator's great. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's great.
There's definitely hard points, I think, in every matchup. There's like things where you're like, oh, this part sucks. But like overall, 3-player maps just hit the sweet spot in StarCraft 1. You can't split them.
I agree.
Lots of action. Always really interesting shapes and paths. There's just so much that can be done because you don't really have to make it symmetric, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed this. I think my favorite 3-player map is still Neo Sylphid, but it's a great map.
Yeah, Neo
Sylphid's
thank
you for the sign.
Map.
Got it at the last second. Good move. That's always tricky, man. When the camera's on you, you're like, which way do I have to move this sign to get it on there?
But yeah, like, I think Dominator might actually be better than Sylphid. I have great memories of Sylphid. But I actually think Dominator is a little bit better balanced.
Yeah, you could be right about that. So this is going to be the Gateway Expand. Bisu sending that probe in the correct direction. It will end up finding the Zerg right away here. And you know, on Dominator, there's a lot of different ways you can hide your Zealot and wedge it into different locations on the map where it's hard to kill. So I think this could be a map where Bisu would have a pretty strong start.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping so. Like, we have a lot of Zergs that look like they're going to do very well this season, and I think Bisu adds a lot to that next round. But, like, what a tough path. You have to go through a best of 3 against Action, and then a best of 3 against Rain, and I will tell you what, I don't think anyone comes close to Rain's strength in Protoss versus Protoss, so I bet you Rain is hoping right now for Bisu to take this down.
Yeah, I always think about that weird season of KSL, back when that was a show we were doing together, where it was like 4 Protosses in the Final Four.
Yes.
It's like, well, that never happens. Like,
yeah.
Like that in some ways, to me, that Final Four is more memorable because of how absurd the Final Four was.
And it wasn't the
Where I'm
round
like-
of 8, like 6 Protosses or something. It was like kind of insane.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, he's faking a cannon rush here. So you can fit 1 cannon back behind this. It seems like the Action is not taking the bait.
Yeah, he seems pretty
like, no.
cool about it.
Yeah. Interesting to see 2 kind of fake out cannon rushes in a row here. But anyways, the Zealot's going to come down here. It's doing a little bit of damage. The Lings are going to hatch in a second here, and he needs to figure out where he's going to send that Zealot. The main, it's actually hard to place it anywhere that's going to be good. So he goes all the way in as far as he can and then runs right back out. The question is going to be from the Zerg, does the Protoss hide one of the Zealots somewhere to run inside your base later on? Because that's another move Bisu loves to do. He loves to get a Zealot in there and just kill a couple of drones and then wedge it somewhere.
Well, it looks like he's pulling them back right now, even underneath the Overlord that Action has on the map. So Action's going to be pretty aware of the general area those Zealots are in. In fact, he actually turns the one around that was closer. Interesting. Again, under the Overlord, so hard to say exactly where that's going for Action. But again, he does have some good vision and catches that probe. So that's a little bit less scouting now for Bisu. You never know. This could turn into something like a 3-Hatch Hydra. But nope, starts that layer up.
Yeah, Bisu is now hidden the Zealot kind of in plain sight. Kind of a funny spot to put that. My bet is that he wants to try to run into that natural when the game is going on for a little bit longer here. The expansion's finishing up. The Cybernetics core has started here. Bisu did play a conservative game, although I don't think he has a cannon yet, right? Okay, never mind. I take it back. Cybernetics core before cannon is always kind of a crazy, daring play. I guess it makes sense to try to do it if you have 1 Zealot hidden, because if things get out of hand, you can at least cause a distraction. But let's see how long he goes. He gets her +1 weapons before cannon.
Love it.
Look at that.
I love it.
So this looks a lot like what Mini did in the past in PvZ. And, you are eventually going to get a cannon, but in a perfect world, you just would never have to make any cannons. It's almost like saying I would never want to make any sunken colonies because I just want to have the stuff I need to kill them and then end the game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to see that he snuck out early +1 attack there, and he still has that Zealot hidden there.
Kind of a funny location for it right now, isn't it? But he's going to try to slip in. Wow, perfect timing there as the Zerglings were getting out of position. That is a lot of Zerglings, though. That is a lot of Zerglings that Action has made.
Yeah. He's going to go ahead and get all the way into the main. He should basically know that there's a Spire there. He didn't quite get vision of that, but you don't see any Hydras hatching, and there's a layer there, and you didn't see a den, so Spire is always a safe bet. And Bisu, by the way, even though he cut some corners here, he's still going for +1 ground weapons and +1 air weapons. So he's going right back into that style. It's not going to be a Rain game where there's like 5 Zealots made. It's a Bisu game where we're going to have a lot of Zealots, a lot of Corsairs, and he's going to come out swinging.
Well, what are you going to do with the amount of Zerglings he made? Like, if Bisu doesn't walk out with his Zealots, it feels almost a little bit wasteful to have that many Zerglings. But, obviously what the amount... Oh! Second Stargate?
Whoa.
2 Stargate?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, he's got... Now, does he have the Twilight Council yet? Or the Citadel? Sorry,
no.
Twilight Council StarCraft 2. Does he have the Citadel yet?
Yeah, he's getting Blink right now, Tastosis.
Well, it's a late second Stargate. Oh my god, and he cancels it. What?
Oh, okay. You know what? His Corsair, he canceled it right after his Corsair flew over the Hydralisk Den. So I think he's looking at it, and there's no second gas mining yet either. And so he's like, "Oh, you know what? This is not Muta. I'm not gonna throw this away by making a ton of coursers and dying to a Hydra push."
Yeah, no, I totally respect that. I thought he was going to make it again. I'm like, all right, well, this is just going to be the hardest cast ever. Okay. So the Zealots are going to have +1 any second now here, and he could just bully the Zerglings away all he wants. But yeah, Bisu basically scattered that, was ready to counter anybody who's going to try to make Mutas and Scourge, but when he sees it's not a hard commitment there, it would be an overcompensation to just try to make too many more Corsairs. Like, it's unnecessary, right? Like you don't want to win more in the fight in the sky only to lose it on the ground.
Totally.
And so those Zealots are going to push out here. They will have +1 attack. They won't have the Zealot speed upgrade quite yet.
Well, with that +1, at least the Zerglings going to have a hard time. You can see actions microing back the Zerglings really heavily, trying to keep the Zealots actually chasing them, and then, of course, bringing them back. Really excellent control here on both sides.
Yeah, this is one of the problems, though, when you attack without having the Zealot speed, is the Hydras are just better units. He can basically kite them away. He doesn't have to worry about anything. So, you're basically giving up units to someone who is going to have just decent control right now. And that's a lot of Zealots that he made. That was like the Zealots were being made this entire game, and now he's back down to square one.
Well, he has that Citadel up. He, does have 2 gates right now. I'm sure that Gateway Explosion will be coming around pretty quickly. Corsairs still kind of patrolling the skies and trying to figure out what's going on. Templar Archives gets started up.
Yeah, it's too bad he didn't bring those Corsairs earlier with the Zealots. Normally, when you see the Zealots come out, you want the Corsairs to kind of generate other threats and maybe draw some of the Hydralisk fire away.
Well, he's looking for something now. I don't think he's going to find too much, though. Feels like Action's position is very, very strong right now. He has, like, kind of everything he needs. His drone count is good. He's got some good hatcheries. I really, like, after Bisu lost those Zealots doing 0 damage, I'm liking where Action's at. Like, he should be feeling really comfortable with this game.
Okay, we've got the Gateway Explosion finally happening. He's going to go up to 6 gateways. Let's remember that we saw Bisu push earlier today without the protection of the Observer, right? And we actually ended up seeing hold position lurkers completely punish him. Is he going to do anything similar to that this time around? I think the Zerg is behaving very differently in this game, but we still don't have a Robo yet.
You think it's going to just be like the really heavy Zealots into a few Psy Storms and like that kind of Bisu-esque army composition that we saw not work against Queen?
We could have it. I mean, keep in mind that this is a game that the Zergs kind of played further back. It didn't try to push, so you would assume that lurkers are coming. Seeing the eggs right here, I think will prompt him to get the Robo and not move out.
Not going to be as hidden as Queen's lurkers.
Right. And so Zerg's going to take a 4th base. Now that base that Zerg's expanding to, that's a tough one to hold. It is among the most pushable bases in all of the ASL maps this season.
Well, if he does a zoned defense on like that pizza wedge that comes out of his natural, like you have to kind of go around the long way to properly attack that 4th base. So in that way, I kind of like the positioning of it, just because like if he was on the other spawn, I think it would be a lot harder because, you would have kind of a direct attack path. But as soon as you have to like walk around, then your opponent has more things that they can do, right? Like, let's say Bisu walks around the right side of that 4th base. Then Action has the potential, like, okay, well, I can go and defend that. But also I could, for instance, push to the north, cut off reinforcements, maybe come around for a flank, maybe do a counterattack, maybe attack your 3rd base. So I feel like, I kind of like the quadrant that Action has made for himself here.
Look at the 4 Templar just hugging the Nexus right now.
Worshipping
Bisu is eventually going to be, he's going to be eventually gearing up for this push. He's staying active with these Zealots on the map. By the way, it feels like pros have gotten so good at that lurker egg trick.
Yeah.
Like, just never letting a lurker or a Hydralisk ever be isolated. And obviously the lurkers are always going to be handy later on. I think Bisu's being a little bit reckless by just having a probe alone expanding over here at that top spot. That feels very, very unsafe. I mean, 2 Zerglings could run up there and force a cancel.
Well, he's got his army like pretty nearby, and the Corsairs are kind of zoning out and like watching for where anything might come. He has switched over into Dragoon production. Some cannons finally warping in at that 3rd base location. And like this game really looks like it's probably going to go late into the hive tech and everything. And I'm wondering, you know, we saw that Rain was very unwilling to go into that Reaver tech and play the more turtled macro game. I would definitely agree with your assessment that we don't see Bisu get into those late game positions that much. Like he generally finds where he can exploit Zerg and get the game decided before there. But when he does go into those positions, have you seen him go Reaver often there, or does he play more like Rain in that case?
Yeah, he'll go Reaver. He'll go Reaver. I mean, I think we haven't had the push just yet here from Bisu.
Yeah.
In fact, Bisu's going to do the double expand, maybe a very late push for the time being, which I think is smart. I think this 3rd base that Bisu took, it's really hard for Zerg to get up there and fight it. And so he's basically just going to have mined out his main and his natural, and then he takes the probes at each of those, throws them on the other 2 bases, and he's still got the same amount of production as before. Now, this attack over here on the side, I love the pylon wall because lurkers can't just run up there. Hydras can fit through there. And, you know, look, Hydras you're always happy to fight. It's when there's, like, lurkers burrowed up here that it gets much harder to reclaim this area.
Well, he does push that back really, really well. And he pushes back the other side also. Action with his double-pronged attacks, not really finding anything. By the way, I do want to note that Bisu's had a Dark Templar down at 6 o'clock for a while now. He's being very patient with it. Or he forgot about it.
Now the lurkers, now the lurkers are they're pushing up now. So this 4th base is not going to happen. Too many threats coming in over here. Is Action overextending? I don't know. Oh my God, he has
That's
so
a
much
lot.
stuff though.
How many storms does Bisu have? Okay, well, some of these storms are ridiculously strong. The Zealots now coming in, not that many lurkers left over. Some great storms still going down. Needs about 1 more or 2 more, I think, here to really hold it. Okay, there's one, a beautiful storm in the center. But Action has so many Hydras pushing up.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much here. And I just don't, I don't see, enough Templars here to have the few remaining storms, and there's a big wave of blue coming up from the bottom, bubbling up the mini-map towards the top here where Bisu's, entrance is. And he's going to take out the Forge. I just don't know that Bisu's going to be viable in this game anymore. We have Overlords with speed here, and remember, this is a map where drops are extremely good.
This looks really, really bad for Bisu right now. He's actually pulling his Corsairs back. I'm not sure exactly what those are going to do for him. Yeah, he's just going to GG. Very tough game number 1. Bisu...
That was wild. I mean, Bisu never even got to push. There's usually this standard ebb and flow at high-level StarCraft. And, in a game like that, it's always the Protoss is pushing and the Zerg is turtling and running around with lurkers and trying to get an extra base somewhere. And throwing down sunken colonies and spores. Do you realize how rare it is that we see at a game like that, the Zerg just come in and almost completely surround the Protoss and kill them with Hydra Lurker?
Totally.
That's not...
It's not common.
That's not common. I mean, I think some of this can go back to the, frankly, a kind of a weird, bad attack of Zealots with no speed that were just kited by Hydras.
That's true, yeah. He couldn't keep any pressure. Action droned insanely after that.
It almost felt like he was trying to play greedy, and then he ended up getting into this thing where it's like, oh my God, I have +1 attacks so fast. I'm gonna just send these out and lose them. You know what I mean? It would have been better to just get the cannon and do all that, and then have your standard attack. Anyways, guys, we're gonna go into game 2 as this series continues on. Okay, on to Eclipse we go. Bisu in the bottom, Action in the top.
All right, so Eclipse Tasteless. My feelings about this map have actually changed a bit.
Oh, yeah?
from what they used to be. Okay, so I still think it's not the best 2-player map. I think, you know, I've talked so many times. I'm sure people are getting tired about the different lanes and how you can't move between them with a ground army. Like
Sure.
that's definitely an issue. But there's something about how turtled your first 3 positions are, where I've really put a lot of thought into it. I've thought about the games that I've played on it and everything. And the thing is, like, with Zerg, as they get into these additional bases, it's very hard to attack and do anything that isn't a frontal assault here. Do you know what I mean? Like, there isn't a more protected main base in any competitive map than this base. So, like, there's no real potential, for instance, to get, like, you know, a DT into that main base realistically, or, you know, do any sort of, like, drops in there with Storm or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, once Zerg is sealed up, they're sealed up.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I think you can sometimes kill Zergs with pushes into their natural.
Sure,
There's a
yeah.
funny thing in PvZ where sometimes, like, the actual right place to go in the mid-game PvZ push is their natural, or is basically where the rally point of their units is.
Well, that's...
and trying to break them there.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to point out is, I think, a problem with the map is that there's actually no variety in how you win a game here. It's like, it has to be a frontal push. There's not, like, games that are won. You know, we've seen these really cool games in the past. In fact, remember when Rain, like, hit a robo and did a quick DT drop on Sylphid once? And we were like, whoa,
oh, yeah.
That was sick. Like, that doesn't exist here because there's not a path to get in. Like, everything's so closed. So it's like, you already know as this game begins that everything's frontal attacks.
Right. Oh, that's so funny. He's going to make the pylon now. I like it. And he's actually doing a cannon rush. This is not an expand.
Oh boy,
this is crazy.
You're right. The forge is in the main base. There's been so many fakes today. I love it. I love it.
He told Rain to fake him in this game too. It's all part of the plot. So you can go for gateway into cannon rush. It's old and it's really hard to deal with because look, it's already hard to stop the. He lets him in. What?
I guess. He's bringing a Zealot back there,
what?
so I guess he actually can clear the drones before they get the cannon. And that'll allow him, now that the Zealot's here, he can put a second cannon there.
Huh. Yeah, I guess you don't have a second probe with this, right?
So he puts a second cannon outside of the range of the Sunken.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, you could see this is so much harder to fight than you know, when there's a Zealot here compared to this, you know, everything else. He actually kills off the cannon.
He's going
to kill the second cannon off. So this is, I think it's going to be hell.
Uh-oh, Bisu. Has Bisu become too fancy for his own good?
You know, one of the problems if you try to do this, I mean, it's kind of apparent now. You don't have a nexus. You know, you are a little bit more safe versus like big counterattacks because you have Zealots and you can, like, you know, get a protection. But the Forge isn't part of the wall-in right now. I mean, one of the ideas here is you make the Forge in your main, so they're not going to see anything. So they would not be ready for this when it's coming.
This does not look very good for Bisu right now. The fact that Action's already taken a third, he's sending some Lings across, which, you know, I don't think the Lings are going to cause, like, great supreme damage or anything. He already has 3 Zealots there, and, you know, I'm sure he'll block this up pretty well. But, like, with how late that Nexus is, the failed cannon rush with 2 cannons, 2 pylons, definitely not looking like a position that I feel confident in betting on Bisu.
Yeah, I mean, this feels pretty hard, especially versus Action. Like, he's one of those guys. He doesn't generally fall behind when he gets a lead. Yeah, I mean, this is so far being played perfectly here from Action. He's got the Lings inside the main. He's running around trying to slow down mining. The gas just now finishes. I even like the one Zergling back at home to eventually kill that a pylon. I think he just killed it off, actually, back there. Bisu probably will have to make a cybernetic score as part of the wall-in if he wants to be safe versus Ling pressure. And, yeah, that's what he does.
Well, at least his probe is up in the main base and sees that there's a layer, so he doesn't have to, frantically build cannons against a Hydra all-in or something like that. So I guess, that's a small bonus of what's going on during all of this. But his Nexus finally going to finish up, send some probes down there. Still Zergling's alive in his main, very annoying to deal with. And for all we know, Zergling's speed could, just now finishing.
Yeah, and he's going to try to run in here. Now there's, without a cannon, you can't really control your entrance. I think what Bisu's trying to do, it sort of makes sense because he needs to basically cut corners and get into tech. But now these counterattacks are going to be completely face melting.
This is going to be a quick one, I think, Tastosis. He's surrounding these Zealots really, really well. More Lings coming in. Now, the other Zealots actually come back from being out on the map, but he cancels the cannon, which is a huge part of making something like this work.
Yeah, as long as the cannon isn't finished, the Ling pressure can continue. Even if you wall in, you just attack the gateway like we're seeing here now.
Oh, man. Well, he's going to have to walk out, right? Okay, he makes a forge to make a partial wall. And in fact, he's got this... Oh, I like this. He sets up the Zealots, so it's going to be hard to get through. But they weren't quite tight, so a few Lings get through. But he's got probes blocking the cannon, so you can't target that so easily. Oh!
Yeah. You know what?
That was pretty well done.
Here's the thing, man. Like, you can also get behind a Zerg if you keep all in here. Like you're not. You could have been making drones. You could have just stayed ahead, and instead he's trying to basically get a killing blow off here. And Bisu's starting to get into recovery mode. This is a wild game. He's going to remake that gateway. This is not walled off. Oh, my God. He's going to at least block this. I don't think the cannon can be killed. That block was insane.
Dude, that was good. That was so well done. But 3 Speedlings are still in his main base, and that's going to be annoying. The Zealot going to come down and try to help with this. Some good probe drills there from Bisu, but not quite enough.
Yeah, the Zealots are now going to run up into the third base. There's a lot of abusive spots he could try to take advantage of here. Really good control with the Zealots. The drones are going to be pulled away.
And he got the Lings in his main during all that as well. Very nicely done. Spire finishes up. I wonder if you make some mutas here to try to get some damage. Oh my God, he gets the Corsair. This game is insane. There is so much damage happening on both sides.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game. Yeah, I wonder if you'd want to make mutas here or not. The truth is, it's not like everything's very well defended from air back in Bisu's base. And, of course, the mutas can just wipe out the Zealots. You don't have to, try to send Lings behind your own mineral patches to fight him.
But he made the Hydralisk Den, so I don't think that's what he's going to go for. I think he is going to be making some Hydras here. He does have a good gas bank, but no second geyser or anything like that either. Some more Scourge coming down, but the Corsairs, yeah, they do turn this time. And there's a single Hydra to start shooting these while they're behind the minerals. So the Zealots will have to come out.
Okay, so these Zealots are just going to get cleaned up here. But, Action, the real story with all this is that he wasn't making drones. The Ling attacks can look amazing, and they can do a lot of damage, but the whole time those Lings are running inside your base, you are always making probes. Because, eventually when you hold it off, you're going to have a ton of money, you're going to have to throw down all these gateways. Zerg, they have to sacrifice. They either have to make a drone or Zerglings. So when you see that there was mass Lings coming down there, and it started to backfire, they started to get cornered by the Zealots, the cannons started to shoot them down, then the Zerg is in a much worse place economically.
And now he's having to make a lot of Scourge. The Corsairs are having a little bit of free reign on the map right now. Everything looks pretty solid for Bisu after a very shaky early game here with the Zerglings all getting in, his cannon rush failing. It feels like, yeah, maybe Action pulled the trigger a little bit too hard there. Maybe he should have gone into more of a macro-oriented game.
Yeah. It's a tough call. Sometimes you can end the game outright or get yourself even further ahead. But aggression like that is always a double-edged sword here.
Well, Bisu going to be running from these Scourge. Tries to turn to kill him. Does a pretty good job. Only takes 1 Scourge hit there. But the Hydra's guarding the Overlords for the most part still.
Well, Bisu's gotten what he needs. He's got +1 air attack Corsairs. Those can shoot down Scourge if they get the first shot off quick enough here. I think Zealot Speed's going to be finishing up momentarily. And we're going to go into, the kind of game Bisu wants to play. The Scourge are not connecting with their targets. We've had a couple moments where Scourge try to go in for the kill and are shot down. I have to say, I'm blown away that Bisu got out of this position.
Yeah.
When his build didn't work, I kind of thought he was just going to leave. But here we are.
Well, I thought he'd stay in the game, but I thought it would be a kind of a bad, one of these games where you kind of know he's dead for a while and he's just fighting because it's like, well, I'm in ASL, I'm not just going to leave the game. But, Bisu's been putting in the work lately. He really has. And he's had a rocky ASL so far, but it feels like everyone's in good shape. But, like, specifically with him, taking a break from streaming for a bit, he's been super active on the ladder. He's just been... It feels like he's really trying to bring his level up to where he thinks it should be. And, he's like... He's a very similar level to Flash if you look at them historically. Like, he really is the greatest Protoss ever. So, if he can get it all to come together... coming back from that bad position, that's old Bisu there. That's him doing something not many people would be able to do.
Takes a big hit on those Overlords. You got to be careful. A lot of times these moments where, you think, oh, hold on a second. Don't overextend in there.
Oof, he almost harangued
Bisu's... Yeah, you're going to be looking for a moment when you can finally hit those Overlords and really cause the hurt to the Zerg here. The DT is going to run up into the third base. The Corsairs are going to be here to try to help cover. And, that DT, it came in a little bit too soon.
Yeah.
By the way, this is a rare timing that we see every once in a while in PvZ is when they try to bust you just about right when you get Templar Storm. Sometimes you can try to run in there and hit the gateway and run around, and if they overspend the storms, you just go in. But Bisu's making the right move. He gets a few extra cannons, and I think Action's going to basically go for Lurker Contain. Now, this game will be decided based off whether or not the Lurker Contain can succeed. If you break free from a Lurker Contain, usually the Zerg does not have any defenses. They don't have any lurkers back at home. They didn't make sunken colonies and spores, so they just die. But if the lurkers can stay here long enough that the Protoss' second base mines out, then the Protoss just loses because they can't make anything.
I'm feeling very confident in Action's position here. The Robo just started. It's not even done yet, and he has an only Zealot-based army. You can see he's getting a Dragoon range right now. But, mass Lurker against the Zealots is just killer. These Zealots do very little once you get 5-6 Lurkers out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it would have been a good move for Bisu to take, 12 of the Zealots and try to run out one of the sides.
I think you're right.
And just basically be active all over the map trying to find bases. Because the Zealots just... outside of maybe throwing one Zealot into the Lurkers, the Zealots can't help you with the push. They just die. Dragoons and Templars break Lurker Contains. Zealots do not. And so he just can't use them for the time being. And oh, look at this. Action's so good.
Man.
He's just going to make a real wide contain. He knows that the exit point of the base is so narrow. And by the way, the cannons, the pylons, the gateways, the cybernetics core, it's all in the way. It's this very sad thing that Protoss players have to deal with where it's like you build up all this stuff to wall off for Lings. And then when the Lurker Contain comes, you have such a tight bottleneck. It's horrible to try to get out of.
Well, he does kill off his own core, begins to push forward. He's using a few Zealots here to go up and tank a little bit. So I really like that usage, considering how many Zealots he has right now. So he pushes out the very first Lurker, but this Contain is very deep.
Now, the Zerg will try to run up underneath the Observers and shoot them down. That is the big Achilles heel that Protoss have. In this situation, is they cannot see the Lurkers without the Observers. The Observers, especially if unupgraded, are slow. They're basically the weakest unit in the whole game. They die almost immediately. And in the meanwhile, Bisu's running around the map with these Corsairs, trying to kill off as many Overlords as he possibly can.
Well, he's coming out of his base right now, throwing down these Psy Storms. He's trying to push back the Lurker Contain. It's still a lot of Lurkers in that. More and more Hydras coming down as well. Action at the same supply as Bisu, which is never a good sign.
Yeah. Action, it's getting a little bit thinned out. I think that Bisu's done a very good job of, not being too messy with the Zealots. But again, this contain is very wide. Lurkers all the way down there in that corner. There's no real way to get out here. This is going to be tough. Zerg, by the way, also expanding in the bottom right for the 4th base. Kind of a cute location to take. That's one of those things like you get that, and then Protoss doesn't get a base on that side of the map, most likely.
Is Bisu actually going to be able to break out of here? It feels like, yeah, I mean, there's not that many Hydras left. Still quite a few Lurkers. But Bisu's doing this really methodically. Like, he's not pushing in too quick. He's not panicking. But if he doesn't do it quick enough, more reinforcements continue to come down.
Takes out another observer. I like how he's keeping other observers in the back. Basically, like, sending them out one at a time. Try to get the job done, and if that's sniped, then he's going to have another one ready to go. This observer is sniped down there as well. So hard for Protoss to break this. I mean, Bisu's army is looking very small right now. And again, what Action does is any damaged Lurker, he just sends it to the back. They're going to heal over time. You want green Lurkers up in the front, the red ones in the back, and just keep trying to hang on. There's not that much time left. This Protoss will mine out here pretty soon.
Yeah, he really needs to push. And the Psystorm count is not that high. There's like still quite a few Zealots in here, but he does have a really strong Dragoon count. Pushing forward once again. Notice the Overlords coming in. Sometimes they tank. Sometimes they allow you to get an Observer as well. Oh, that contain is too much. I think this is it, Tasteless.
My God, the Lurkers are going to run right up here. They're going to burrow. GG, Bisu taps out. He is out of the ASL. Action is now going back to face off against Rain.
All right. That's it's unfortunate to see Bisu go. I really, really like Bisu as a player. I love the way he plays. I love his skill set. Unfortunately for him, this is a really tough season. This was a really tough group.
Yeah, I don't feel like Bisu played as well as we're used to seeing. I mean, especially when those Zealots came out without speed and were just killed, and it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get value with those, and you certainly don't want to trade out all the Zealots you've got, and then they get map control, which is what happened. Action, always so consistent, always so scary. Just played a great series. That was kind of a fun one, how it started off. I don't think we've casted that strategy since ASL's been back. I mean, I've known about it, but I've never seen anybody do it in a tournament, so it was kind of a fun little strat to see pulled out here in a pivotal match here in ASL. Anyways, guys, the final match, Rain versus Action, is coming up next.
우주급 텐션 최고의 도킹 핫식스 터킹. zapatos Gucci, perdóname si me ría. Yo tengo mis fuerzas, no quiero tus penas, así que me voy a estar. Compré una bala, no soy de huelga. Vuelo con alas, amor desgraciado. Tú me dices, ya no quiero. No te creo. Tu palabras ya. No quise palabras, quería besar, quería tocarte, quería amar. Y como pensé con toda mi fe que no podemos lograr. No quise palabras, quería besar, quería tocarte, quería amar. Como pensé con toda mi fe que no podemos lograr. No me digas cosas lindas, no me digas mi chiquita. Compré una bala, no soy de huelga. Vuelo con alas, amor desgraciado. Tú me dices, ya no quiero. No te creo.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time to close out Group C, our 5th PvZ match of the evening.
Yeah, you must be pretty happy with tonight. Wait, have we still had no Zerg vs. Zergs at all in this tournament?
No, we have not had a ZVZ yet in this tournament.
Well, guys, don't worry. Don't worry, because that from the round of 8 on, it's going to be almost only ZVZ, I think.
I mean, it's weird because I feel like we do hit all the matchups.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's maybe ZVZ. No, I guess all the mirror matchups, maybe they're a little bit rarer. I don't see why they would be, but I feel like maybe they are. But yeah, we haven't had a ZVZ. Have we had a PvP?
Yeah, we had a PvP.
Yeah, but I think we had one. Yeah. Okay.
And we had several TVTs.
Well, I thought. Yeah. Oh, don't worry. We've got it. We had enough TVTs for this season and the next one. We've had plenty of that matchup so far. All right. Well, let's see what happens here. Action versus Rain, and we're ready to get started, guys. Let's get into this. Okay, Rain in the top right, and Action in the bottom left.
Okay, yeah, Eclipse once again. I guess, the early game right now mostly has to do with just, is there going to be a cannon rush or a fake cannon rush? We see that a lot here.
Yeah. Guys, we appreciate your support. We're so glad we can keep doing StarCraft. Even though Afrika TV, now Soup, didn't want to hire us to keep doing it, because of the community support from you guys, we've been able to continue this on, get these recorded for you and thrown on YouTube so that the history of StarCraft will live on forever. Consider supporting us at our Patreon. It's patreon.com/ASL English. It would mean the world to us.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I gotta say, it was a scary time when they did not want to renew ASL.
Yeah.
And, just the fact that we've been able to keep this going, even since I moved to Canada. I tried to get Tastosis to move with me. He and my wife were both against it. We still get to do it, and it's wonderful because it just never has to stop.
He was hoping that we could, when we get to Canada, we could ride on our bicycle. That was like two guys
Two
both
seats.
pedaling the same bike around together.
Who's the front seat? Who's the back seat?
No,
Tasteless.
it was super sad when we lost the casting gig because we just love StarCraft 1, and I think we've had these great careers that we got to live in Korea and cast StarCraft 2 and travel around the world, and then we're like, God, it gets even better. Now we get to do StarCraft 1 as well. The game that started it all, but I'm glad we were able to get the Patreon set up, and the community's been great and very supportive, and now it's in some ways it's even easier, right? Because we can do it wherever you are in the world of Tastosis because of the system. So appreciate it, guys. Consider signing up if you haven't already. This game, it was Nexus before even Forge. which you can do on Eclipse because you can scout and basically confirm if there's any threats at all. So this is a very different approach than what Bisu did. Bisu took advantage of the fact that he could do one of the hardest rushes to stop in the game, the gateway fake expand into Forge, like so Zealot cannon rush. In this game, Rain looks at this and goes, instead of cannon rushing, I'll just get a Nexus really fast, and then get a Forge, and then get a gateway. Probably even maybe getting gas before before you end up getting the first cannon. Yeah, he even gets the gas there too.
Wow.
So super greedy macro build.
And, action at the same time. He throws down his third hatch. His pool not done yet. He's not saving a bunch of larvae for Zerglings or anything. He's pretty aware of what's going on. So a nice macro opener on both sides here. And, of course, Rain going to throw down just kind of a blind cannon here. You at some point, you have to hit the brakes and say, okay, I've gotten so much here. Time to make that cannon, make sure that we're fine and safe.
Yeah. And the cannon, you always want to get it as late as possible. That's always the rule. The later you get it, that means you got all these other important buildings up earlier. Like getting your gas up really fast, that's more gas for Templars, everything else later on in the game. The probe is going to continue to orbit around the hatchery here. He needs to see, is there a layer? Is there a den? Is there anything I can watch for? Does Ling's speed finish? In which case my probe will die, but at least I'll know where some of the gas went there. And because of the greedy build that Rain went for, it's always one of the funny features of it is the weird placement of the cybernetics core. You've been on one pylon the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
You have to have the core like in some kind of weird spot next to your expansion minerals.
That is a funny thing about the Nexus supply, where it's like, yeah, that kind of counts as your next pylon, and the way that you've done this and kind of skipped through everything. It's like he's got that one pylon that powers so much. I think there's a word for that in StarCraft 2, can't quite remember, but yeah, actually when you were talking about the cannon and trying to push it back as far as possible, it's funny that we see the same things pop up just in good quality RTS all the time. Like, it's like siege mode in Terran vs. Protoss. Like, you just want to get that as late as you possibly can. But you can screw up and get it too late and just die, So it's just kind of like this similar thing where it's like, okay, your ultimate defense, push that back.
Well, it's very expensive, right? And I think bad players, they think the moment I get siege mode, I feel safe.
Yeah. Right?
And so, it's important to feel safe, and it's important to be safe from attacks, right? But if you get it too early, there's other stuff you could have gotten in the meanwhile. So in this game, we have the second cannon coming down here. Now, there was a very quick second gas taken here by Rain, so he's going to have a lot of tech available. By the way, this is the new Wallen that Protosses do on certain maps, this one included, which is that the Forge is much further back and protected by cannons, and the gateway is way poking out in the front, but you can lose the gateway and be fine, basically, because gateways are much more expendable than forges.
Yeah, you don't want to lose those upgrades. It's so important. It was actually really cool. There was a Jin translated video of True's match on this map, and how he didn't target the Forge, and every pro gave so much trouble to him. They're like, dude, you have to do that. You're going to lose now because you didn't get the Forge. The amount of value put on getting that +1 done on time is gigantic within the pro scene.
Yeah, 100%. So this Corsair is going to continue to scout around. Very Bisu-esque, by the way, to have the second gateway over here in the natural. This was much more common a long time ago, and I feel like it's kind of died down with the exception of Bisu, and I guess apparently Rain in this game. But most of the time now, people just want all the rest of their gateways next to each other in the main for the purpose of macroing. But Bisu made it very common to have the second gateway at the natural, so that if there was some kind of a game where you lost control and Mutas got in your main, you could morph an Archon out of the second gateway and go back and reclaim your main.
You can't link up two High Templars when one's made at your nat and one's made in your main base. The Mutas will get those, so
they'll just kill it.
It's a smart move.
It's smart, but it does make macroing harder when you have 3 different spots where your buildings are in. You're trying to make stuff.
That's so important to mention. As you get to a high level, you want to try to get as few screens as possible for your macro, because you can macro so much more quickly and more steadily. If you're on 2-3 screens, you might get pulled away in the middle of a macro cycle, And, you know,
Right.
you might not go back and you might just miss a few units because of that. So it's definitely something that players think a lot about, except for Sharp. He doesn't care. His factors are everywhere.
His stuffs are all over the place, man.
I love the guy, but his facts are everywhere. It's crazy.
It really is one of these things where, like, you know, I think people, you know, the APM has become this thing that's like, oh, they have to be so fast and do everything. It's like, actually, a lot of StarCraft players are very good at figuring out how to do a lot with little.
Yeah.
You know, like having all your gateways or factories on one screen is huge. By the way, double DT rush here.
Oh
and
God.
I don't know that Action knows about this.
This is kind of crazy right now. Yeah, the DTs are wreaking havoc, and he hasn't cast a Storm yet. He has enough cannons and zealots and probes that he's kind of still holding on, but we definitely need to see storms there also. The DTs will end up getting picked off, but I think they actually did some reasonable damage also.
Yeah, they did a decent amount of damage here. You know, I've never seen anybody try to bust this because it's so hard to actually bust because of the placement of everything. You can see how safe the cannons in the back are. It's so hard to get there. But he just went for it. I think, I think Rain almost couldn't believe it when he got attacked over there. Yeah, I think the 2 DTs did decent damage. The Forge is still safe over here. It's very hard for the Hydras to get the surface area to hit that Forge, but they might be able to get it in a little bit here.
Still, we haven't seen a Storm, by the way. I just wonder if Eclipse is a cursed map where it's hard to get Storm researched. Like, I'm not sure what's going on with that he has all these High Templars. Not the best Storm there. I don't even know why you would try to cast that one, but he gets some more cannons warped in. He has Zealot legs. He has those High Templars sitting there. So, and he definitely, I don't know how many drones he killed, but it was definitely a pretty good amount. Like, there's barely any drones at that third base now.
Yeah. Well, 2 DTs is so much more than one for damage output. Like, a couple Hydras can hold off a DT, but when you get 2, the DTs can just run up there and, like, 2-shot, or basically 1-shot, I should say, a Hydra, if they don't have the armor. So suddenly it's like 3 or 4 Hydras just get killed by 2 DTs, and then you just run inside their base and kill all their workers. So I kind of like the idea.
Yeah, the once the DTs have that +1 attack, which they generally do as soon as they attack, because that's just how +1 lines up, they do like 43 damage, and Hydras have 80 health with 1 point of instant heal. So it's like they basically are always 2-shotting those Hydras. So it's like, it's surprising sometimes you see DTs actually just fight, but it can work.
Yeah. I like the play to go for the Evo Chamber. Is this upgrading?
It must be.
It must be. Yeah, I guess we can't check that in this UI, right?
No. Yeah, you can't really check anything. The technology just isn't there.
Yeah, it's just not there. This is a small indie game company, man. We can't expect that. So the Zealots are doing a decent amount of damage. I mean, they took out the Evo Chamber. We've got them running inside the main. He gets a confirm on the Mutalisks. We actually have too many Templars, by the way. He has like 6 or 7 Templars, which is just too many.
Well, he knows some of them are going to get sniped.
Yeah, this is one way to do it, apparently.
Yeah,
you just overmake the Templars
that
so that
is
some
a
of
lot.
them survive no matter what.
Holy crap. This reminds me when we used to play in PC Bongs like a long time ago. I'd be sitting there watching you play PvZ and the Hydras attack, and you have like 8 High Templars and 2 Dragoons, and just
yeah,
you
like
cast a bunch of
Templars
storms
so
and then you
much.
have no damage, and it's like, well.
Yeah, it's like I just need a couple fighting units to clean this up, but I don't have it.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like he's getting Dragoon range. I don't think he can move out now until he has a little bit more, but it's kind of a weird number of gateways, by the way. It's like 5, and I guess he's getting 6 and 7 up there, but it's been delayed a little bit. But yeah, he has like a lot of Templars. He even had a Templar in his main, too.
They're all over the place. He's like losing track with how many he has. Action's getting ready for a 4th base, and we still don't see Rain moving out to take his 3rd. Well, I guess just now he's doing that. Moving up towards his 3rd base location. Hopefully he has a probe with him on the way.
That amount of Mutalisks is there to kill Templars, just like this. How did that not die? What?
Yeah, I don't know. He's got the +1 armor. Actually, yeah, at 6 health left with 7 mutas sniping, it was literally the +1 armor that saved him. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's wild, man.
Well, you told me a long time ago that's That's like why people get the +1 armor all the time now, and then +2 armor is to stop mutas from sniping. But I guess finally we've caught it exactly in action.
Yeah, well, I think it's not even just that. It's like the Dragoons are tougher versus the Lurkers. Like, you just have a little bit more sustain. So he's going to come out now. I mean, this is a ton of Templars. Let's see how many he can actually kill. And, you know, the Scourge are not really doing their job either. I think one Corsair was killed. It's kind of weird seeing Rain do this. Like, he doesn't follow the best playbook where he just gets the counter to the mutas. He just sort of is good at kind of controlling stuff, and so the mutas aren't quite succeeding in the task of killing the Templars off.
Well, it looks like he's going to do this big frontal attack right now. A lot of High Templars still in there. The muta's super, super low on health. He continues to throw storms down on him, but still 5 remain.
Okay, he's going to keep trying to push in here. The Hydras are going to come in again. They do not manage to snipe that Templar. I mean, this defense is looking pretty feeble. I mean, Rain's basically just pushing through this. It's kind of unreal. The Templars are just still able to continuously storm over and over. Action taps out. How does Rain do this?
That looked very similar to the last time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like he doesn't have a big army. And he has 3 Corsairs. And he just kind of moves out. Sometimes he's got 1 Templar. Sometimes he's got 6. Never the magic number 4. And Action loses the game.
Yeah, he had more High Templars. And don't forget, like, he has less Zealots and more Dragoons earlier than basically everybody. Like, he doesn't highly value the Zealots in the early game like Bisu does. He just gets into those Dragoons, which gives him more sustained damage in his attacks, and moves out, micros well. And Action just wasn't able to find the damage with those mutas. He did not pick off enough High Templars.
It's so interesting. It's so simple, but somehow complex at the same time. But clearly it works. Like, he gets to Action's base, and Action's not ready. And again, it's so different from Bisu. I mean, we're really seeing 2 very, very different approaches from the matchups. But right now, Rain is 1 victory away from going on to the round of 8 and knocking out Action.
ASL Season 19.
I just noticed there's a voice that goes, ASL Season 19.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, I just noticed that as well.
That's the first time I noticed that. I mean, we might have been talking over that. Not us saying that.
You remember our terrible Archon voice, one of those seasons, Tasteless?
Yeah, so we used to do player intros, where they, like, in StarCraft 2, they'd zoom in on each player, and like they'd have different voice actors or different people come over and do it. And then one time they wanted us to do it, but they wanted us to say it at the same time because
so it sounded like an Archon, basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
and we were like, we don't know
like
about this.
Shit. We're like, I don't think it's a good idea. And they're like, no, it's gonna be great. Try it. So we went to the studio and recorded it, and we played it. It was so bad. It was like embarrassing. I'm like, oh, why are we doing this?
It was on like 1 or 2 episodes, and they took it off because it was so bad. And we told them it was gonna be so bad too.
We warned them. We have a good sense for this too. I'm like, no, this is not worth it. You can just let us goof around in the matches, and that'll be fine. And it was so bad that in one of them, then we would say it with our own voice lines. Remember this?
Oh, yeah.
we would as casters also say it. So then there'd be 4 people talking at once. It sounded horrible.
Yeah, that was pretty wretched. And the funny thing is, they weren't listening outside. It would be bad. I guarantee you. On the Korean stream, they're like, "Wait, what the fuck?" And then they just
they're like, "What's that?"
Like, "Oh, the Korean casters said it. We believe that." Like, that's I guess it is bad.
Was that their idea? Those megalomaniacs? It's like, no, it was the producer's idea. We didn't even want to do this, man.
Yeah, that's so funny.
There was another one that they did a long time ago where, like, for StarCraft 2, where they had you, like, as if you were composing music, but it was like banelings hitting stuff.
Yeah.
And it was so bad. I was just laughing
cringy,
and point at you because they didn't ask me to be part of it. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess he's going to get to do this cool segment, and I'm not going to be part of it. And then I'm like, oh, this is so lame.
Yeah, that was so bad, man. And they got me at the worst angles, too. They're, like, seeing my love handles and shit.
It's they were like, seeing your pear-shaped body. Like,
Fun times.
Yeah, that's where we have just casted our way through a lot of cringe stuff.
Yeah.
So Rain gets this pylon block down here. He actually cancels it. But, I mean, this is pretty good already. Now, Action's doing a good job keeping his minerals below 300 by just making an extra drone or extra Zerglings to try to be cost efficient. Wait.
Huh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. Sorry, we were talking about cringe stuff in our past, and I didn't realize that's actually a really fast pool. So he's going to go for Forge right away because he's afraid of losing. I've actually wondered this, and I was kind of waiting to see it in a game to kind of try to make sense of it. So basically, it's 9 pool without speed.
Gotcha.
Into expand.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is that you kind of get the best of both worlds. The Protoss is really scared and has to play like really defensively. But you don't need to spend any money on Zergling speed or gas, so you get a third hatchery down right away.
And I want to triple underline the difference between like an overpool and a 9 pool. So overpool is when you go Overlord then spawning pool on 9. And 9 pool is when you just make spawning pool on 9 and then the Overlord. And the difference is dramatic. Like overpool is only a defensive build. You never really attack with it. 9 pool is an aggressive build. It's a completely different feel, whether you're Terran, whether you're Protoss. Like, it's just completely different. 9 pool will actually attack you, whereas you look at overpool, you're like, oh, you're playing safe. I'm fine.
Yeah, overpool is safe. 9 pool is a rush.
Yeah.
So I just learned something here. I've always been curious how to deal with this. He makes a Forge purely to finish the wall, and then gets a Nexus. And then goes gas, and probably gets a cannon later, which is very interesting. So, as someone who I had struggled with this, I mean, I'd mostly been playing Warcraft 3 because of that little tournament for Grubby I was getting ready for. But I was always wondering, what is the best way to stop this? And it's very interesting to see a tech building only made to be part of a wall-in, because that's all you really care about is not letting the Lings in.
That makes sense. And
he doesn't. It makes perfect sense now that I see it.
Yeah, and he doesn't really have to worry because there's no creeps on the map to kill him. So it's like, is he going to understand what I just said? Oh my god!
I just get really quiet and just turn the stream off. I'm like, I'm going to bed.
Okay, more Lings being made because he is bringing up some more Zealots here as well. Rain really putting on some pressure. Quite a few Lings to try to meet him, but a third Zealot comes up. Don't forget, there's still a couple at that third base, but a lot of Lings coming up to flank these.
Yeah, this is some great counter pressure. Remember that they made a lot of Lings early. You didn't have that many drones, so Rain's going to come through here, tries to target one of those drones, and the Lings actually pin him up against the minerals.
Great surround. Great surround. And those 2 Zealots at the third base, like, he can definitely clear them with the amount of Zerglings that he has. Might not be super efficient, but he has a Spire on the way. A lot of Zealots have been spent. Feels like Action blocked everything pretty well.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. Rain's handled this pretty perfectly, honestly. I'm really impressed. And he's once again going to be going for Corsairs into that Templar tech, probably for Zealot speed first.
Well, he is going to break through these finally with that Zergling speed upgrade. So no more Zealots on the map anymore. Action going to gain map control for at least a little bit here. Continuing to drone up as he waits for his Spire to finish. Do you think that, I mean, it seems like that's a pretty fast second gas. This must be actual mutas that Action's going for, huh?
Yeah. It's funny because when we look at Rain, he made 2 more cannons at his entrance. But yeah, when you see double gas, like that's actually one of the first things you want to scout with the Corsair. Once you confirm that there's not Hydras coming at you, you want to immediately check for the second gas. So he's actually going to go across the map and see this. Now, he might get there like right as this stuff hatches. So once he sees the second gas, he has to turn around like right away. Oh my god, he's going to go deep in.
You got to be careful
He
about
wants
this.
to confirm the Spire. This is scary because sometimes the Corsair can't get back out. Like Scourge can hatch and basically like zone it so that it can't return home. And you can see Rain is really doing everything in his power. Okay, see that's why you want to be very careful about this. Let's see if he can maybe wiggle the Corsair around and shake off the Scourge.
Well, he is making a cannon in this natural, which I think is quite important. It looks like it's going to finish kind of just in time here to block the mutas from dominating this area. It is only 4, so that's a little bit lucky too, or you would have lost about 5 probes there if there was, the additional Mutalisk. Hydralisk Den is coming up. Kind of an interesting, very aggressive tech transition here from Action.
Yeah, I don't think I see Action do this that often.
No.
Either. But yeah, he's gone into the fast mutas, and now he's going to very quickly kind of shift his tech around. It seems like what Action wants to do is not have the normal gradual progression of tech on his side. It's like he's showing one thing and then immediately going into the other, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does seem that way. Like, I bet you it's just like 5 mutas. Maybe it's even just 4, I don't know. Doing the reverse queen mind game here. But yeah, like, Action he doesn't have that many hatches. You can really kind of tell some differences between 9-pool and overpool here, where it's echoed throughout the game. Action's position does not look as good to me as the other games that we've seen tonight from Queen and Action. It seems like he's a little bit lower econ, a little bit fewer units. Obviously on Rain's side, it's a little bit weird because he sent a ton of Zealots out early. Had to make that additional part of the wall early on, so everything was a little bit later because of that as well.
He's going to try to just go through here and commit down onto this cannon. Now, it's 4 mutas. I think you can barely take the cannon out with that. He's going to... Can he actually get the kill on this? Yeah, he's going to get the kill on that. The Corsair might be too much of a threat. Kind of a funny game that he even tried to do that, but I guess he wanted to, force more cannons and force more Corsairs in defense. But I think behind this, we are going to have that Lurker attack.
Oh, you think it's going to be, like, directly into Lurker?
I think that's coming, yeah.
That actually makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a very turtled game here. The DT is going to be spotted. Pretty low on HP. These Overlords are just, like, perfectly placed. He actually gets the kill on it. That's incredible. Wow.
That has to be frustrating for Rain. That was kind of an important DT to bring in a little bit later and look for that damage, but going to be completely denied at this point. Make some more Mutalisks.
He's going to make more mutas. Okay.
That's tricky because he's shown the Hydras. He shows that there's a speed upgrade. That is tricky.
And you can see that Rain's having a hard time with this. He's, like, sometimes overmaking cannons and canceling. Like, it's already hard enough for us, and we can see everything that the players are doing. But from Rain's perspective, yeah, it's hard for him to tell, okay, is this going to be like a Hydra Bust right after this? Or is he going to go back into mutas or what? And now we see that he's going, I assume that's Dragoon range. Gosh, the order that Rain gets everything, it's so different than the other players in ASL. He just seems to have a different pattern that he follows in the matchup.
Dude, well, look at this. He's taking out the cannons, and the High Templar coming up. Tries to get that Storm, but honestly, it doesn't go all that well. Great dodges here from Action. He's going to pick off multiple High Templars, dealing damage to the economy. It feels like he's really kind of out-mind-gamed Rain here. Like, Rain was not prepared for this. He had 1 Corsair.
Yeah, well, it's just, it's just so not clear what kind of game Action's bringing. Like, you never see somebody make 5 mutas, then attack in, and then make a bunch more mutas, right? That's
very
just
uncommon.
Not a normal ebb and flow, but it seems to be working. Rain, having a hard time understanding what's coming his way, and basically has a whole bunch of useless cannons at the front of his base with Templars there protecting it when his main gets hit.
Well, the Muta flying in, trying to get a little bit of scouting. These Mutas harassing the Zealots as they move out, splits them off. Just a group of 4 now going towards that third, but he's not going to find any damage. There's a Sunken, there's Hydras here. This is not a great place to attack right now. Action is looking solid. Like, he's got a good amount of supply. He's got his production all going. He's switched tech several times, reduced the High Templar count already. Feels like Action's game to lose.
Yeah. I like the Zealots hidden everywhere on the map here. He needs to get an idea of where this new base can be. It's always great to kill these hatcheries, like, right when they finish. I mean, you can force them to cancel, too, but it's always good if you can just have a clear target to push, before it's surrounded by lurkers with spores and sunken colonies. And keep in mind, both of these sides, the armies have been pretty small, I guess, Actions is looking a little bit bigger now that these Hydras have come into the mix, but, it's not these powered-up armies we're used to seeing in games like this. There's been a lot of tech thrown around here early on.
Yeah, well, the Muta's coming up and going to help to push us all back. We see, like, no High Templars in this army. Look at this. It's like Zealot Dragoon. Again, Rain playing PvZ with a PvT army right now.
Yeah.
Just basic
He just
bro
needs a shuttle
gateway
full
units.
of zealots to just fly over the hydras and drop on them. Like.
Wouldn't that be something? Another attack into the main base of these Mutas. Dude, I think Action is moments from clearing this game out. Like, all he has to do is weather the few storms and these couple High Templars coming out, and there's not going to be anything left for Rain.
Yeah. I mean, Rain's looking much weaker right now. He's going to try to push. And he's, I got to say, the zoning game is insane to me.
Yeah.
Like, he's just sort of able to kind of protect these Templars by keeping them running away and having the Dragoons kind of run in and block them off. You almost never see this.
Superb army movement, no doubt.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Now, again, if he doesn't snipe those Templars, I mean, Mass Dragoon Zealot with good storms will kill Hydras. Hydras are, Hydras are like so strong as just a unit independent of themselves. When Protoss gets a sophisticated army that has all the tools they need, Zerg will die. Hydras cannot hang with Mass Zealot Dragoon like we're seeing right here. I mean, is this game about to end? I mean,
maybe.
The storms, yeah.
Yeah, the storms are doing such a good job on these Hydras. It looks like he's going to evaporate just about everything in here. What in the world? It really felt like Action was crushing this game. Action coming back now with his Mutas as well, I believe, and more Hydras coming out to kind of reinforce. The Mutas are flying over to the left, and there they are. They come in, they get one of those High Templars, but I think the storms were already basically spent.
Yeah, I think so. I'm surprised it didn't even just morph it into an Archon. It's going to take it so long to actually, build up enough to become another unit that can storm again. Doesn't seem like Rain has anywhere that he can really hit. He knows about that expansion at the bottom. He didn't opt to go there, but he did basically crush the rally point place. I guess he's going to try to rotate down here now and kill this off. And I don't know that there's any way for Action to contest this.
No, he has to just give that up. There's nothing really there for him. Does Action still, after this kind of turn of events, have a chance here? Because look at this. He flies in for like the 7th time he's in here killing all the probes in the main base. This is insane, the amount of damage his Mutalisks have done. But his main Hydra army has really been suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's back on 3 bases. I mean, I think the only thing that Rain would have to do now is just get like a couple more Templars and, regroup and probably attack in there again.
Do you take a third here as Rain, though? Or do you just actually go for an attack?
I mean, I think you do both if you can. If you can't, I think it's great. I mean, look, there's no... When the 4th base has been killed, you don't have to attack them. If you can, you should, but, it's probably better to just get a base up and wait for them to try to expand again and kill that. Or maybe try to push into the, natural again. A lot of times PvZ, it's kind of about what you can get away with. Sometimes Zergs are just really good at denying the 3rd base over and over, or... defending, and so you have to figure out where you can get value.
Yeah. Well, it looks to me the way he's moving his army, like maybe he's just trying to catch Mutas, but I think he's getting ready for a 3rd base at that natural 3rd location. So we'll see if he sends a probe down and tries to get that Nexus started or not. Again, a gateway army. Okay, he does have those High Templars in his natural, starting to bring those down as well. I love the amount of Dragoons he makes for this mid-game, man. It's just like the consistency of damage is so high. That's... Like, it takes a while to kind of learn about this in StarCraft. But, like, for instance, the Zealot is actually a stronger unit than the Dragoon. Like, it tanks more, it has higher damage output, it does normal damage instead of explosive damage, it's cheaper, it's faster. But the thing is, it has to close, and there's a lot of times Zealots aren't attacking. You have a battle with this many Dragoons, Dragoon range is amazing. So the Dragoons are basically just going to always be putting out damage. So the actual damage output of this army is going to be really super consistent. He's got enough Zealots in here to tank quite a bit against those Hydras, and then he's got the Psy Storms to just give that extra bit of damage to the Dragoons to finish everything off. It's like, it's deceiving how good this army can be, especially when you look at the supplies. Look at this, 124 to 157. We would always say Zerg is winning here, and maybe he is, but I think it's closer than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the harass has really added up over here for Rain. I'd be curious what his actual probe count is right now, because it's got to be low.
I think so.
Like, just when you look at his bases, it's like you want to see like so many layers of probes on top of each other that it's hard to tell how many there are. But a lot of times we go back there and I'm like, I think there's 12 probes on this expansion.
Yeah.
You know?
No, his economy has been trashed. And you can tell as well, because we're 17 minutes, 30 seconds in. He hasn't run out of any patches yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A more normal game, you'd be dry.
Yeah, probably around 18 minutes or something like that. You just start to have no more resources there, and you need to go and transfer. But yeah, he's been beaten up so bad. So many workers have been killed that he's having a hard time doing that. I love the Zealots running down here. This is another great kill. Again, always perfect if you can kill the hatchery when it's done. A lot of times it's too risky to play in a way where like you would deliberately let the hatchery finish, because then they might get the lurkers and the sunken colonies and spores there. But man, if you could just kill a hatchery as it finishes, that is the dream.
Well, at the same time, his Nexus looks like it's likely to go down, but hold on. Rain coming over to defend. And he's just mostly killing probes there with the Hydras as opposed to targeting down that Nexus. Might be able to do both, but no. I mean, the amount of Psy Storms coming in here that he potentially has, every single probe goes down. Yeah, dude, the probe count of Rain is like nothing. He, seriously, I bet you he has 22 probes right now. That's my guess.
You know, I think Action may just win this because the worker count's so low. Like, he's literally not even mining from his natural. He's having to pull probes away from his gas because that's not even safe.
This is looking bad. But the army of Rain, I think, is actually better than Action's army right now. Dude, look at that. The armor upgrade's really paying off. High Templars just barely not being sniped. The Mutas go back for even more probe kills. He's going to have, like, literally no probes. He's going to have to pull the probes off of his expired gases to mine minerals now.
This is kind of insane, because if you look at the Zerg's mineral patches, you know, the Zerg just have less mining in a game like this, so they're going to mine out later, and it's kind of a different set of rules. Well, let's see what these Dragoons can do. You know, Dragoons alone don't cut it. Okay, the Templars are going to be sniped, excuse me. He's trying to get these over here as fast as he can. He's going to take out at least two, leaving only one storm left. Dude, Rain can't push.
No, there's nothing left here for him. The Hydras simply win this battle. There's not enough of anything. Dragoons have such a bad time fighting alone. And the Hydra's going to overpower GG. Tied up 1-1. That was a crazy game. And the amount of damage that Action did with his Mutalisks, let me tell you something, Tasteless. If we could get Best to drill into Rain's head how strong Dark Archon Maelstrom is, like, a game like that, I feel like Best would never lose a game like that. But also, only Rain wins some of these games that he's winning in the mid-game with the heavy Dragoon High Templar timing.
Yeah, and sometimes having, like, 2 or 3 Corsairs.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of trying to play catch-up with the tech. Instead of, like, having to counter, just trying to have the right movement so that the Templars are safe. It looks really hard, man. I think the way Best does it is just better.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is the final game. Who is going to be advancing to that round of 8? Are we going to have another Zerg in action, or will Rain be one step closer to yet another seed? We're going to go to Polestar for our third map. Big 4-player map. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, guys, let's do it. Final game of Group C. Is it going to be a Protoss or a Zerg advancing? We find out now. Make the voice ASL Season 19. Okay, Rain in the top left, Action in the bottom left. And yeah, I mean, this has been a really fun day. Just nonstop PVZs, seeing all the different approaches people have in the matchup. It's been really interesting to see how radically different Rain plays from Bisu.
Yes. I love that that's a thing. That these matchups can be played completely differently at the very top level. You know, a couple championship level players playing, literally their armies look different. Like they have completely different goals and plans the entire game, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, Bisu basically wants to kind of run out and start taking fights, and he wants strong Zealots, he wants strong Corsairs, and the tech will come a little bit later, and he can keep mounting that damage and usually have a clean closer. And Rain plays a very quiet game. It's like he has some Zealots, nothing crazy, maybe 5, maybe 6, but he techs really fast, and he gets Dragoons very early.
Rain seems to be a master of the mid game, and Bisu may be a master of the early game.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Rain is mostly just scouting and making sure he doesn't get all in, and he gets into a much more comfortable spot with an earlier technical army, you know, and kind of plays the game from there. It's very cool to see.
Yeah, very, very fun. I quite like Rain's style. Like, it just kind of gels with my brain, I think. It feels more like a Terran versus Protoss type of style, where you're like, yeah, I'll just go strong mid game, you know, and kind of accept the early game. I can't get too much harassment done or something like that. Now, he did scout action first once again. I feel like we've had the Protosses scouting Zerg first pretty much all day, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
You can really adjust your build very tightly if you get that.
And so this is going to be a game where he will get the Nexus before the cannon. And, yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind of game he wants to bring us here. No gateway pressure this time around. Yeah, I mean, you know, Rain's got this kind of super scary mid-game PVZ. I think he would have actually won that game versus Action if he was just able to, I don't know, get the Dark Archon and stop it. You know, when I see him, the way he plays, he gets a second gas very early in tech. So I'm like, can't you just make a Dark Archon? Like, isn't this just the missing secret sauce to your build?
You know,
like he would have crushed Action if he had just gotten his Templars across the map and stormed. Like, he had 4 Templars inbound with like 20 Dragoons. Okay, that melts Hydras.
Yeah,
that literally counters Hydras, because the Dragoons are just going to get shots off. They have longer range than the Hydralisks. But for some reason, it's like he's just trying to, it's like forcing the square shape through the circle hole. It's like, this isn't going to work, man. The mutas are going to snipe you. We've seen the answer to this. It's that Dark Archon tech. It's just so weird he's not using it.
I do wonder about it. You know, the thing is, it would take away some of his mid-game pushing power. You know, Dark Templars, are they 125 gas? Or is it 100 gas? 125 gas?
You would think I would know that.
Yeah, you would think you would know that.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Okay, anyways, the point is they cost way more minerals than a High Templar and almost as much gas, not quite. And then you do have to get the Maelstrom and all that. And it's like, well, I mean, I could have 2 to 4 more Psy Storms by just getting 2 more High Templar. You know, so there is definitely a difference there. Like, I'm a huge Dark Archon fan, but it's like, okay, well, you're giving up one thing to get another. So while I think that Best would have been very solid in that game, you know, these other 2 games that we saw from Rain against Action where he did the mid-game push and won, I don't think that Best would have done that, you know? I think Best would have been more safe, taken a third, and the game would have just kind of gone on, and who knows which way it goes. But like these crazy attacks we're seeing Rain do where he makes the matchup look easy, I do think part of that is just like how optimized he is on getting Psy Storms out.
Yeah, you might be right. He just kind of rushes into he always gets 2 DTs early on and sees what he can get done with them, whether they're both going to attack into one place and try to, overpower the Hydras defending, or if he's going to control the map with it, or he's going to split them and set them into 2 different locations. And then it's like really quick into Psystorm, and he's most of the game he's kind of playing single player and trying to develop. by the way, this with the Hydras coming up here, he is going to have to throw down those cannons and try to play it safe. He did not do the novel new school wall in, so the Forge is very, very vulnerable outside here on the map.
Well, he has only a single Zealot out in the front. He didn't make a Corsair yet, huh? I guess that was a really quick scout of the Hydras, but without the Corsair, you can't really tell how much more they're making. Okay, so he does get that started at least, which is good, and leaves a little hole for cannons just in case. But yeah, the cannons finishing up. He's definitely going to lose this gateway pretty quickly. I don't think there's a way to save the Forge, right? Like, once range finishes, he just guns down the Forge.
I think he just gets the Forge.
Yeah.
It's why that we have that different wall in where the Forge would be further back here, the gateway sticking more out. But I think, players were walling like this for so long. I think sometimes, especially on these maps that are newer, where they might not have played as many games on, they might default back into the old wall in just out of habit.
It could make sense, yeah. Well, it looks like that's going to be taken down almost immediately. The Corsair flying around, checking. He's going to see, like, right now, mostly action is droning up. So you might not need that many cannons, but he's still watching the counts of Hydras coming out here as well. I feel like this is the hardest thing to decide, where it's like you see some drones being made, some Hydras being made, another hatchery going down. It's like, wait, how many cannons do you actually need here?
Oh, it's really hard. You'll see like Hydra's still moving out, but then you're like, oh, I saw a couple drones made over here, and a good player, I think, can kind of oscillate between the two, And remember that, if you make a bunch of cannons, if you don't waste your Hydras, I mean, you're still kind of okay here. I'm a little bit stunned he's going to rush up here. This feels very unsafe. I'm like, no, that's actually what the Protoss wants you to do. Oh my god, he loses the Overlord. Hold on. There's no other Overlord over there.
Yeah.
That was the worst play ever.
That was bad. Like, he got 3 Zealots, 3 Probes for, like, his Lings, an Overlord, and 7 Hydras? There's no way that's good.
I think sometimes when you do the Hydra bust play, you're so focused on, like, kind of getting in their face that you can end up overextending under pressure, which is kind of what he did there. I love, by the way, that Rain canceled the 2 cannons in the bottom. When he saw that he killed all that off earlier, he's like, all right, we're going to make gateways even quicker now. I don't need 8 cannons. 6 is going to do the job.
Well, right now, going to go ahead and chase out some of these Hydras, get his Speed Zealots on the map, looking for some damage. I imagine he's going to switch into Dragoons pretty quickly. He normally doesn't do too much of this phase of the game.
Yeah, he just has a modest amount of Zealots that come out. It's that same 5 again. Double Forge inside the main is he's going to be ready for 2-2 later on in this game. And, he's just scouting with the Corsair. He's trying to see, okay, is there, any chance of Mutas coming in here? There's a Spire about halfway done. And he just wants to get the Templar Storm out here.
The Corsair still doing a pretty good job scouting around. I like the timing of the Robo here. That's definitely a difference from what we saw with Bisu. Like, he's on 2 gates and he makes a Robo. Bisu goes up to 9 gates. He's like 120 supply. And then when he runs into Lurkers, he's like, oh, damn, I better get a Robo.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, okay, here's a Dark Archon!
Oh, no! Action, what are you going to do now?
It's over, man.
It's over.
This is a moral victory at the bare minimum. So, yeah, I mean, he can just catch the Mutas. And by the way, when you see Hydra pressure or Hydra bust, you almost always know they're going to go Mutas. Like, I will just blindly get a Dark Archon.
Yeah.
By the way, if they don't have Mutas, you can still use a Dark Archon. Like, if they're going Lurkers, you can freeze, 5 or 6 Lurkers before they burrow. And you can win a fight that way. Like, there's value. If you want to, you can catch Hydralisks. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it.
I think it's the most underutilized unit probably in the game. And it's getting more and more utilized all the time. But it's, legitimately really, really good in 2 matchups.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, in PvP, it definitely has a role. Like, if you both go DTs, or, let's say that I went for, Dragoon Observer, and they DT rushed me and I held it. Well, I know that I'm going to have my Templars later, so I can just make a Dark Archon and try to zap their High Templars while I tech in High Templars myself.
Feedback is one of the best
incredible
spells.
Ability.
It's insane. Yeah. And late game against Zerg as well, insane. And Maelstrom, always really, really good against Zerg. So
yeah,
I love the Dark Archon. I think it's a great unit.
I think in some ways this unit got overlooked because people were completely freaked out by mind control when the game came out, like when Brood War hit. This was like I remember just arguing with kids at my school at the lunch table. People were like, well, Protoss is now the strongest because they can get 3 races. But in a pro match, it's like you don't get to steal people's workers and make a whole other base. It's just not how the game kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, if you're trying to humiliate somebody, okay, or if you're in like some weird, insane, long late game, you know? Like, we're talking like an hour PVT. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can make a Dark Archon and like put it in a speed shuttle and try to grab it. I mean, you know what I mean? But
on
like,
infinite money maps, it's good, but honestly, even the biggest 4-player maps, you don't actually have enough money to max on a second race. Like, it just doesn't work out. It slows you down too much. I mean, Snow did it to me once and killed me with battle cruisers, but that's completely different levels. So that one doesn't count.
Yeah, but like I think what happened was people were so caught up with that, and then when these multiplayer tournaments came out, and it was like, oh, this is like not. It's all about trying to get expansions up, and it's so complicated. It's so expensive to like get a second tech and then build it up that I think then people just didn't pay attention to Dark Archons, where it's like actually the good spells are the other 2 you're not talking about.
Yeah, the big problem, just one more thing about mind control, is the upgrades. Like, if you steal a unit, you don't get the upgrades that go with it. And also, having to make the upgrades for the new race is one of the big reasons why you never see this done. Because it just takes forever. It takes all game to get upgrades. That's why, like, every build we talk about, oh yeah, see, he's getting his +1 quickly, very important to snipe that forge, that type of thing. It just takes forever to get your upgrades up to par. And if you're playing against 3-3, 0-0, doesn't even matter what the units are, you're going to lose.
Right, exactly. And there's been some things labbed out, like, okay, if you were to do it, like, let's say Mind Control Zerg here, you would want to go into Mutas. That'd probably be the best unit to go for. Here come those Mutas now.
And there's the Maelstrom. Beautiful. Maelstrom plus the Psystorm kills absolutely everything, including a few Overlords in there. So already paying big dividends here for Rain. The one problem that I see, though, is, well, he has his 3rd base on the way, but Action already has 4 bases up. He's already going to Hive, and this is where Action is super, super strong. Most Korean pros consider him the best Defiler user out there, and he's well on his way to the unit.
Yeah. And it's really tough to push Zerg when they start to get the Defilers out here. So we're going to see the twilight of this push. I don't think he can get anything done. Can he get rid of this Lurker that's up here? Okay, you know what? If he can just kind of push through a little bit further, I think he actually can make this work.
Yeah, he's got Psystorms here
I didn't think he was going to be able to bust this.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get pretty good damage. Another Psystorm goes off there on the Lurker as opposed to Hydras. That Psystorm's insane. Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's killing so
really
much.
Cool.
But this is a one-way army. Like, he is going to end up losing everything. A great Maelstrom. You can see the power of this spell. But, yeah, I mean, Action is just, he's surrounding everything. He's going to kill off this whole army.
Yeah. And, we're seeing now, like, everything get reset. I feel like he should have kept trying to figure out a place to poke and then run back. But he didn't have an army that was going to reinforce that. It's really hard to do PvZ. You have to be, like, super patient. Like, throw storms down, let your Dragoons do some damage, and then either hold position or back up. The faster you try to end the game with the push, even though, fundamentally when a push comes in StarCraft, their speed is important. Because, if you're the defender and you hold the push, then you're going to win the game long term. But you really don't want to overextend. You really, really got to be careful, because once you overextend, the game's lost. And you're going to be in a really tough late game you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, I think that's where Snow really excels, is he's very good at being patient and grinding people down without overcommitting his army. I think that's like his superpower in this matchup. Now, we're getting into that much later game. A lot of Ling Lurker coming up that is kind of like a very strong late game composition. And you can see, like, that is a lot of units for Action coming up. He's storming while he's running back, so he's taking a pretty good engage. He's not really losing all that much. He's definitely softening up the army of Action, and in fact, Action will now turn around realizing, like, oh, if we go too quickly here, the Psystorms are just going to grind him down to nothing.
Yeah, the fact that he was continuously retreating and just sprinkling storms behind him, like Caltrops or something, that they hit the Zerg army, was perfect. And now he can dive in, and this is big. Got to be careful not to overextend too much with the Zealots, but I mean, he's doing a good amount of damage here.
Action continuing to rally up. He's trying to put the pressure on. Rain is taking a 4th base at this time. So this is a really important moment in the game. If Action can prevent this 4th base from mining, if he can maybe kill that off, that's where I think Action just runs away with the game and wins. He's actually taking a 5th in the bottom right at the same time. But if Rain can hold on to this, like 4 base versus 4 base is quite good for Protoss.
Oh, he's going to try to run up there. Is this an overextension here from Action? You know, both sides in PvZ, when they get these high ground turtled positions, they both are horrible when it comes to attacking into it.
Yeah.
You know, Psystorm with a Protoss army and cannons is a nightmare to try to run up a ramp and hit. And the same thing is true for Zerg. If if Protoss is going to try to run in and there's like lurkers and defilers and sunken colonies, it's like you're just not going to win that fight.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just important to not attack a base you know you can't kill.
Yeah.
That was the greatest thing you ever said, Tastosis. It's so simple but so profound. If you can't kill a base, don't kill it.
Yeah, I had to speak from my own experience,
Yeah.
because there were a number of games where I'm like, I'm just attacking into it's like I'm just hitting a spot I can't kill.
It's a meat grinder.
You know, just
Yeah.
just go, let the game go to the next stage.
Yep. Okay, so Rain has secured his 4th. He's going to have to get some probes up there, but he's safe. He's moving towards the bottom right. I don't think he's going to be able to like go kill bottom right or anything like that. Yeah, he does get the transfer up there, actually, so that's good. And I got to ask myself, right? So we were talking earlier about, will he get the Dark Archon? Okay, he got it this game. But if you look at his game, his big long game against Queen, he never went into those Reavers. Is he going to do that this game?
I hope he does.
I do, too.
He's made some really good adjustments here. But yeah, I mean, we had some games here where it just seemed like he was almost allergic to endgame comps. He was doing everything he could to not use it, where it's like, man, Protoss have some great tools at their disposal if you can just get yourself to use them. I do like, by the way, that Rain actually breached this position up here at this base. So he is going to take out the, the 5th base here for Action. That's huge.
Super, super important to be seeing this. And, he will be able to kill that base. It looks like Action is setting up. I'm not sure. That's like a very small army to attack the 4th with, but maybe he has like a Defiler in there, and he thinks he can like sneak up and just blow it. Yeah, that's what it was. He was like, oh, maybe I can just throw a Darkstorm down and kill the Nexus. That is definitely one way that you can show up and kill a base. But he turns around as Rain kind of zones him out of that area as well. I think Rain is taking the lead with killing that bottom right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the fact that he took that out, he's comfortable now. It doesn't mean that Zerg can't just retake another base, but like this is definitely what you want to see here. I like that Rain just kind of has his army on hold position. Oh, never mind. I guess he's going to leave it. I kind of think he should just stay over there on the high ground. If we get 2 Templars, Archon, and some Zealots and Dragoons, like just control his ramp.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, right? Just kind of make it hard for him to do things. A lot of times that's a great way to win a game, is just make your opponent go into areas where it's very hard for them to do anything, rather than go into their defended areas yourself. Great Psystorms coming down from Rain, pushing everything back. And, he throws down a Dark Swarm, but that Lurker was super low health, blows up almost instantaneously. Rain is really kind of crushing right now.
Yeah, but Rain needs to back up. Dark Swarm is no joke. You're going to have to reposition over here. Nice Ice Storms. And I love this. He just has these Zealots kind of fractioned off from the rest of his army, running into these different areas and trying to hit these hatcheries. Meanwhile, the push is just going to be another problem that Action's going to have to deal with. Again, great Ice Storms here.
Yeah, it looks like that hatchery will be saved by the Lurkers in a Ling. It looks like the Plague grinding is going to start in earnest now. Plague goes down onto these Dragoons. Defilers, this could be a problem for Rain just in general, because he's such a Dragoon-oriented player in this matchup. In fact, really every matchup, man. He's just like, he is the Dragoon player when you think about his PvP and you think about his PvT as well. But, this is where the Dragoons are going to get worse and worse. Plague wrecks Dragoons, and obviously just Defilers in general. If you're throwing down Darkstorm, the Dragoon does nothing. The Cracklings come out. You've never seen anything as one-sided okay? Vultures are better against carriers than Dragoons are against Cracklings.
Oh, I mean, they're just so
I'm
bad.
not even
It's
joking
crazy.
about that. It's like actually true.
Both sides are very upgraded. It seems like Rain wants to try to come down here to where the new fresh 4th base is. By the way, there's going to be another base set up over here in the bottom right. I think he's sending a drone over to there now. He's kind of just like trying to force this. He's trying to just like ramrod his way through here. This does not feel safe.
Yeah, well, he's getting insane storms down. Like, he kills a lot of the drones with some storms there as well. Has a Zealot in that line. Oh my god, the Lurker's coming up. He just massacres also. It looks like, I think Action's going to be able to kill that army, though. Yeah, look at this. Sets up some Lurkers behind and gets insane spines going on here.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of damage to that army. I love the hidden base up here at the top right. Does the Zerg actually see that? There's like an Overlord or something over there? I just don't know if he knows. If you can't get that natural expansion, it's a great idea to just take the main. Just cannon it up and try to, you know, hold on for dear life over there.
Well, a lot of Ling's going to hit this 4th. This is an important moment for Action. He's actually going to eliminate this base. This is going to bring Rain down to 1 mining base for the time being. He actually transferred some probes to the top right, which might actually be a mistake because now Action knows to go up there and attack. So that top right base is going to be killed very, very quickly. Like, all he has to do is target it down with the Lings. There are some Zealots trying to come up here to help, but no, that Nexus is not going to last. Oh my god, we just went from a game where I'm like, oh wow, Rain is making huge progress, I feel like he's going to win, to Action blowing up just about his whole economy.
I think it's really important when you have these other bases, like you're in a 4-base game, you need to have like 2 or 3 Zealots at each expansion, 1 or 2 Templars, you know. You're no longer just, you know, trying to close it out with this push. Once you're in a post-Hive universe, you just have to treat every base like its own unique little outpost. It has to be perfectly defendable against everything. Because otherwise, I mean, like, that was like 3 cannons at that base. That's really easy to kill.
Yeah.
You can kill that with 1 control group of Zerglings. But if you have Zealots there, if you get that Reaver Tech, which for whatever reason Rain doesn't want to get, you have Templars, and you want like 5 or 6 cannons. You know, you want enough cannons that even if they, you know, if they have to get a Dark Swarm to even have a shot of getting in there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it does seem like 5 to 6 cannons is where it actually makes it hard to break things with Lings. So,
right.
Unfortunately, he didn't really have anything set up there. He is retaking the 4th base, which is very important. If that gets interrupted, that's going to be terrible. But yeah, he left a lot of units up here to stop any interruptions. Honestly, I think he needs to take another Nexus very quickly as well, because I think his 3rd is going to go out pretty soon. He got that, you know, not too late into the game, and I'm sure he's had really good probe saturation. So I'm a little bit worried. You know, when you fall down to 1 base, the difference between 1 base and 2 in the late game is night and day. Like, if you're on 1 base, your opponent better be on 1 base, man. Because you're just not able to really make an army at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this tilts to Action's favor.
Me too.
That being said, I think the top right base, you know, it's not that hard for Protoss to get unless they're trying to push and do it at the same time. But when you see the Zerg take that bottom right, it's like, okay, we're in this for the long run.
Yeah.
Now, Zerg do expand at a rate that's faster than Protoss, so if Protoss could just play split map, a lot of times they can pull through at the end by just having, you know, the last couple of bases. I don't know about this, man. It's like Zealots and Archons fighting all these Cracklings and Lurkers here.
Yeah, you got to pull back from those Lurkers for sure. But against the Cracklings, they can definitely do a very good job.
Sure, yeah, but the Cracklings are just there to let the Lurkers do damage, you know?
Yeah. And Archons just are, they're crappy under Dark Swarm. They technically do some damage, but they are crappy under there. And yeah, look at this. He flanks the army, getting smaller and smaller. Rain does bring down a little bit more. And, you know, Archons are very good. Look at that, 29 kills on that one Archon. It's pretty insane. But over time, like, oh man, losing some of these High Templars, you really need to build up that High Templar count, continue to get the value out of those. And I feel like we're not seeing that quite enough out of Rain.
Yeah, Rain's going to try to come down again. This army is so small. I think he's just he's kind of trying to force this. It's like if I could just get through these lurkers, I'll be able to get to those drones and take this base out. And what's happening is he's feeding. He's running in here and just basically dropping units, and the army's becoming pretty puny. But hold on. There's reinforcements.
Yeah. You'll also notice, by the way, wow, nice plague. You'll notice, by the way, that we're seeing a few more Hydras mixed in. Hydras are actually the best unit against Archons for Zerg. So
yes, that's true.
That definitely can help a little bit. They just power down so quickly since shields take full damage. You know, these are +3 Hydras, so they deal 13 damage every shot, and they shoot super fast from really good range. So, like, Archons hate Hydralisks.
Yeah, in fact, when you're a Protoss player in your microrene, you always want to preemptively pull your Archon away because you know the Hydras will target it.
Yeah.
Well, the longer those drones are there, eating up those minerals, the worse it's going to be. We have Rain failing to push, and at the same time, he is just not expanding to the top right.
He needs that so bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can go for Reavers. In fact, like a lot of times the play is, you know, really the late game comp I think you want. And again, I don't know why. Now, by the way, that's shuttle speed, so he is going to have the Reaver tech coming eventually here. The comp you want is like maybe 2 to 4 Reavers with shuttles, Zealot, Templar, Archon. You're not really making Dragoons anymore, and then you just push the Dark Swarm. The other thing you want to do late game is basically just have always one speed shuttle on the map with Templars to storm drop, because they're going to mine out all of their bases, and they're going to end up with an absurdly high drone concentration on like 1 to 2 bases, the Zerg will. And then what you just do is you can outmaneuver Scourge always with shuttle speed. Like, they actually can't do a whole lot against this, except for like occupy the base with spore colonies and hydras and all this other stuff.
Well,
so
oh my god, I was going to say this was empty for a long time, but it looks like Action knows that he's trying to do this. So let's see. Throws out 1 High Templar. Dude, that's a good storm. Oh my god. All right, 5 drones go down. The Zealot helps a little bit as well, but he does lose everything also.
Yeah. He just needs a Reaver to push this. Oh. And again, I think you really got to watch that base. What you want to do over here is you want to get cannons, maybe even 2 gateways and a robo. And you want to have like DT, Templars, Reavers, all that. And eventually go up into the main while you're storm dropping. And then you got to also make sure they don't do a giant drop into your main with cracklings, because that's another thing that can happen. Dude, Artosis,
wow.
This is huge.
This DT could be the savior of Rain in this ASL.
And there's a chance that Action is just not going to have his screen over here. Yeah. He's not getting notified that he's being attacked because he's not receiving damage. He's just receiving kills.
Yeah.
So the game won't notify you. So it's going to be up to him to either notice these drones are missing on the minimap or something else.
He just killed half of the economy of Action with 1 Dark Templar. Action is not going to be happy with that.
There is an an Overlord here.
Oh my god.
He's going to not risk it. He wants to come up into the main and probably kill that drone and then hide this DT somewhere and hope that like Action doesn't catch on. Action does not necessarily know. He's giving no signs of knowing that he lost all of his workers. So this can be a game where he's like, this feels weird. I don't have as much money coming in. And then he checks later and goes, oh my god, how long has that been not mining? And was that a DT or was it a storm drop or what?
Well, the thing is, the storm drop will give you the notification because it doesn't one-shot the drones. It's a verbal notification that we're talking about, guys. When the DT attacks, it gives you a mini-map ping, but you're generally not looking for that. So, yeah, it's just like because they kill instantaneously. So, you know, right now this DT... Look at this. He waited? Are you kidding me? Oh, my God. 21 drone kills.
You know, and we were talking about the Archon having 25 kills earlier. 21 drone kills is insane. I think that this is probably what's going to win Rain the game.
Yeah. That was like...
Nearly 30 workers were killed.
Yeah. From 1 Dark Templar late game. Not something you see very often. And now Action's going to attack. I think he's looking at this and saying, I am kind of screwed. And I kind of agree with him. I think he needs to kill that base for Rain in the top right.
He has to kill that or he will lose the game. All that Protoss has to do is hang on to that. By the way, Rain's comp is looking good.
Yeah.
Again, no Reavers, but at least he's got the Archon Zealot. He's got Templars. He's throwing stuff down. Just try to stay out of range of the lurkers. Another great
ridiculous.
Psy Storm over here that should kill. No, I guess it won't quite kill this, but the Archons and Zealots coming in here will.
The Storms have been amazing. The Zealots in front of the Archons here doing a pretty good job, but this is not over yet. A lot of units from Action coming up. He's getting a lot of damage here onto those Archons. Throws down that Dark Storm. Dude, yeah, you need Psy Storm Zealot to kill that. Archons do not kill Lurkers under Dark Storm, so you gotta...
they do not damage them at all.
Yeah, they miss their shots. It's just that they deal a lot of splash damage, so they still do some to, like, Lings and stuff. But yeah, getting a Lurker under there could be the move he needs. Okay, he moves one up, but not enough. Chi-Chi! Rain moves forward to the round of 8. What a crazy match. I actually think, other than that DT, Action actually outplayed him. Like, Action was going to win this if it weren't for that 25-plus kill DT.
I think it was like 29 at the end.
Yeah, it was close.
It was a lot.
Close to 30.
Yeah, I mean, I think Action actually played a better game there, but, you know, one DT slips through the ranks. You have to have an Overlord at every base. And, you know, Rain was very patient. He got the kills there. He went right by the Natural, because the Natural is going to be the place that's most likely to be attacked by Storm Drops. Went into the main, and then waited for a bunch of drones to be remade. When you see one drone there, you know, okay, there's going to be a big plume of drones popping up.
Yeah.
He waited for that, killed all of those. And then when he had gotten all the value out of the main, he went, all right, we're going to suicide this DT onto the few remaining drones at this other patch. And, you know, the problem is as that had happened, Rain took that top right base. That means he's going to get the main for free later. That gives him a lot of sustainability.
Yeah. Now we're going to watch this DT in his epic journey. He clicked it around in like a really clever way where it just got through everything.
Gosh, look at this. I was wondering, too, would he just go kill Lings? Because you can also do that. You can kill like 50 Lings if they're just on the map like that. But he had to make a decision. He got down here. And remember, like we were saying before, there's only 2 mining bases when the game's gone on long enough. It was this one and the one at the Natural, and then I guess he has a third one that's going to finish in the main.
It's crazy to me that he got this. This was such perfect decision making. If there was one Overlord in the path of that DT, Action is in the round of 8. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
One Overlord. One. Like, his units would have killed the DT instantaneously.
And then he waited here. He said, okay, if there's no workers here now, I'm not going to try to kill this one drone.
Yeah, can't see it.
That's just out of vision, apparently. He just was so patient. When do these drones come in here? I felt like it was immediate. Okay, so this is where round 2, an entire expansion of drones killed.
Dude, that's so insane.
That's wild. And then he says, okay, let's get some value here. We're going all the way up and just going to get a few more.
22, 23, 24.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was
25.
25, yeah. Okay.
Wild. That is just so much damage. 25.
All right, guys, we're going to go to an
drones.
interview now.
And that does it for Group C of the round of 16 of ASL Season 19, done in partnership with Hot 6. As we have today's final player moving on to the round of 8, let's meet the Protoss Emperor, Rain. Congratulations. Thank you. Rain, what you showed today was the absolute quintessence of PvZ, playing as many as 6 PvZs. And at the end of all this toil, your reward is the round of 8 yet again. Right now you must be exhausted both mentally and physically, but the fans are watching, Rain. How do you feel? I advanced, but if I'm honest, my performance wasn't good. It's not a performance I find satisfactory. Like, even though I advanced, it doesn't feel like I did. However you look at it, I think that if I want to advance even further, I need to play much better than this. I'll need to prepare more, but I am in a good mood still. Right. That last decider match against Action, it was such a desperate, such a fierce match. Right up until the end. Whoever lost focus first, that's what would decide between victory and defeat. And in the midst of that situation, your mineral lines were suffering. You were on the ropes. And then your Dark Templar, more like a Dark Knight, showed up 28 minutes into the game and afforded you the victory. Tell me about making that call. For starters, up until I turned it around with the Dark Templar, I just played thinking I've lost. Honestly, that time my army died in the center, I considered taking my hands off and typing GG. But having thought about tapping out for a while, in a situation like this, there is really no other way to turn it around other than Dark Templar when you're this behind. I'm glad it worked so well. Makes me think that perhaps this one final judgment was what allowed you to add your name to the round of 8. You, who didn't give up until the very end. The PvZ against Action was one where you both were going tit for tat when it comes to mind games. What do you think? Honestly, I don't think Protoss can win against Zerg purely with mind games. Zerg can just do a lot of things here and there. Rather than going for mind games, I thought about the correct place to go for. I think I just got lucky today and won not because I played that well. Yeah, I can't really feel satisfied with this. As you're saying, it's not easy for Protoss to cleanly and meticulously deploy mind games against Zerg, but you overcame this not easy aspect of it with your performance today. As you were watching Action play the losers match, I heard you say, "Why is this guy only playing 12 hatch?" And because of that, we saw you go for a Nexus first in the decider match to claim a victory as well. It's apparent that you kept thinking about the builds to use against Zerg even here already in the studio. In any case, Action only played 12 hatch in the preceding series. I thought, that was his plan all along for today. And then he went for a 9 pull once, and it was right when I went gate first. I should have won that, but I lost. I had some trouble advancing today. Yes, in the second set you did go for a gate first, but his Mutalisks were just too strong. And so in the end, it was a fierce 2-1 victory for you. Now, I don't know if this is a plus or a minus for you, but for the time being, the likelihood you will meet a Zerg in the round of 8 is pretty high, with Sulky and Jaedong having both advanced in first place. So the likelihood you will have to play another extended series against a Zerg has clearly gone up. Yes. And how do you aim to approach or receive this? Oh, this time when I practiced, I actually did so with Sulky and with Jaedong, and if this is the situation, then I won't be able to win. So if I just practice a little more diligently, I think that if you approach it correctly, you can win a best of 5, so I'll try and work hard. As soon as that third set of the decider match was over, seeing you cover your face, seeing you being able to breathe again, was an inspiring sight. Seeing how you stayed focused all the way until the end, it certainly makes me excited to see what you show in the round of 8, and many people will feel the same. A word for the fans, please. My fans always show a lot of support, even at times when I don't feel particularly motivated. It's like they're more invested. I can feel it. They look at my games and they say, go practice more. Like it's them playing. They say, make it so that I can see you play well. It's really difficult to wrap my head around it, and yet it becomes such a source of motivation. I worked hard because of that. I'm always thankful. I'm sure your fans will be very proud with this result that they themselves feel as their success as well. Any words for your colleagues as well? First up, our team, To Come Monsters. We are playing in the JPL University League. Some of our members or colleagues cheered for me. I always feel I've got a long way to go, but I'm thankful to them. And Calm and Harangi. They're very busy nowadays, but they're always taking care of our team. They're doing well. I hope that they keep working hard. And for helping me practice, Sulky, Hero, Mini, and Jaedong and I, we sparred for like 3 or 4 days. It was very helpful. If we meet in the round of 8, I'm gonna win, bro. Thank you. Yeah, Jaedong was really hoping you would advance, so I'm sure he's in a good mood now. Good work playing despite this late hour. See you in the round of 8. Congratulations. Thank you. And there you have Rain, today's second place finisher, moving on to the round of 8.
Today was a hell of a day, Artosis. Great games. So fun to have this deep dive into PvZ. Our surviving players are Queen and Rain. They're moving on to the round of 8.
Yeah. I feel bad for Action Bisu because they're so strong, but take a look at this round of 8 so far. Solki, Jaedong, Queen, all Zergs winning their groups. And then we have Light, Best, and Rain down on the bottom. Only the group of Death to finish off. And my, oh my, what a group that is. It's so impossible to predict this next group as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be ending on a high note here for Group D. I do not know who moves on. It is possible we have one Terran in the round of 8. That is a real possibility. It is also possible... Oh, no, I guess, yeah, no matter what. Yeah, so, I mean, gosh, the most Terrans we could have in the round of 8 would be 2. So a very Terran-light group. We also could end up with 4 Zergs. We could end up with 2 Protosses, and it would be, at least half of the round of 8 Protoss. Look, I really don't know how this group's going to end up. I think any possible result is realistic. You know what I'm saying? It could be Snow and Rush getting out. It could be Hero and Miniman. You can mix and match it however you want, and I think it's a safe bet. But these games are going to be insane. You do not want to miss out on this, guys.
God, I tell you, I love Rush, and I want another Terran in there so badly, but this group looks just too difficult. Snow PVT, so hard. Hero, for my money, is the second best player in the world right now. I think our 4 winners are all going to be Zerg players, man. That's what I think. And then you look at it, just every matchup here is insanity. That is, like, how hard to predict is this? Honestly, you look at this, it's like, if I just showed you these 4 players, Tasteless, you'd be like, oh, which season was that, the top 4? You know, that's like, it's unbelievable that they're in a group together. It's not fair. Something's wrong.
It's wild, man. So definitely join us for that. And ASL is going to be on every week from here on out, guys. We don't have any more breaks in there until we get to almost to the finals. Then I guess we have 1 week off for that. But so we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you. Please consider signing up for the Patreon. And till next time, bye-bye.